Good evening, everybody. It is 6:02 p.m. on Monday, November 30th, 2020. We are here for the Nashua Board of Education meeting. We are meeting via Zoom this evening due to the state of emergency declared by the governor and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, we're providing public access to the meeting via ETV's live stream or via via the local access channel on the television. We will be having public comments this evening, typically about 10 to 15 minutes into the meeting. Perhaps a little later this evening. I would expect at least half an hour, 45 minutes for our initial discussions. And then again, towards the end of the meeting, we have a second public comment period. To join the public comment period, you call 1-877-853-5257, meeting ID 895-8675. 6538, passcode 362630. We do our best to take calls in the order in which you called. However, we can't let you in until the public comment period. So you might have to just prepare yourself that if you call early, you may have to wait a while. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call. When you state your presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you, as required under the right to know law. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, Raymond Guarino is here, and I'm alone in this room. Paula Johnson?
Present, alone in the room.
Sandra Ziem?
Present, alone in the room.
Jennifer Bishop?
Present, sporadically alone in the room.
Sharon Giglio?
Present and alone in the room.
Jessica Brown?
Present and alone in the room.
Heather Raymond?
Present, and I'm alone in the room.
Dottie Oden?
I'm here and I'm alone in the room.
Gloria Timmons?
You're alone in the room.
Also with us, we have Dr. Mosley,
Here.
Dr. McKinney,
Here and all alone.
Mr. Parker,
Here and alone in the room.
Mr. Donovan,
Here and alone.
Ms. O'Gara,
Here and with my cat Oscar.
Ms. Hines,
Here and alone, thank you.
Ms. Kinsella,
Here and alone.
Ms. Gingras,
I'm here and alone.
Ms. Fulton,
Here and alone.
Mr. Richard,
I am here and alone.
Mr. Falzarano,
Here and alone.
Mr. Mahoney,
I'm here and alone.
Mr. Burns,
Here and alone.
and our student representatives, Mr. Norris,
Here and alone.
Mr. Gao.
I'm here and alone at the moment.
I think that's everyone. If I missed someone, please speak up. I think that's everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guarino. We do have a full house this evening, virtually. So I cannot see everybody on my Zoom screen at one time. Please, if you wish to speak, use the chat feature and I will call on people in the order that they indicate in the chat. We don't have a recognition or presentation scheduled this evening, but because we have so many guests this evening here to speak on some unfinished business from last time, I'm looking for a motion to suspend the rules to allow the unfinished business regarding the calendar and regarding winter athletics to be considered during the recognition presentation portion of the agenda. Anyone?
So moved.
Okay, I think Ms. Oden said so moved.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Gilio. Okay. Any comments on that motion? I don't see any. I don't see any in the chat. Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll?
Okay, on the motion to suspend the rules and take on unfinished business, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, so we have in our packets 2 memos. One is from Ms. Gingras, the Director of Athletics, with some updates regarding interscholastic athletics. And the other is a memo from the principals. It's from Ms. Fulton, the Secretary of the Principals Union, regarding changes that they had made to the calendar based on the last meeting and the discussions in the curriculum committee meeting. The last meeting we had, people indicated that they wanted to settle the calendar question before settling the question of athletics. So if everyone is willing, I'd like to look at the calendar first. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the calendar for December 2020 through February 2021. I'm going to call it to approve the principal's revised calendar for December 2020 through February 2021.
I move that we approve the principal's revised calendar for December 2020 through February of 2021, I believe it is.
Yep, that's as far as we've gone.
Seconded.
Okay. Okay, what I'd like to do is go back to my speaking list and see if anyone has any comments. If you don't, you do not have to comment. But if you do, this will give everybody an opportunity to speak if they wish it.
Ms. Raymond, before we go on, can I just ask, are we talking about till the end of February 26th or until February 1st on the motion?
I would say the calendar goes until the end of February, but if someone would prefer to end it, on through the 5th, I don't see why someone couldn't make that amendment. Ms. Gilio? Were you intending it to go for all 3 pages that we have?
Well, no, actually, I guess it would be fine if we just go through January 29th, I believe. There's no additional changes that are made to, or is it Monday, February 1st? I guess Monday, February 1st.
So Monday, February 1st are the last of the grades.
Yeah.
So
So I would amend it to go to Monday, February 1st rather than through the month of February.
okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I've got that written down. Okay, so let's go through the list. Ms. Bishop?
I have no comments.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
So I do think the edits are a little bit better. Still moving forward, the committee couldn't come to a consensus to recommend the spring calendar as presented, which is why we had requested the principals and administration to make some edits regarding the hybrid half-day and full-day days and possibly treat elementary, middle school, and high school as individual entities where appropriate. And this specifically applies to the wide staffing gap between elementary and middle schools and high school, as the majority of elementary and middle school students have already been assigned, or it would be easier to assign them into remote teams and in-school teams, whereas high school students' classes are less likely to be able to be assigned into specific cohorts. So I think I'm gonna vote to approve this calendar, but I still would like to speak in the committee meeting about what hybrid actually refers to. And I think that we should still consider treating high school, middle school, and elementary as separate things, because they don't necessarily need to run on exactly the same schedule of days of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I don't think there's a lot of difference between this and the principal's calendar that they presented before. Looking at it, and as I said before, I have a lot of trust and respect for the professionalism of the principals, and they know what's going on in their schools the best, and so I'm going to support this, and hopefully things will get better. Right now in our country and in our state and in our region, COVID is actually getting worse, but I'm hoping that we can do our best to take that everyone in our community can do their best to take precautions, wear a mask, and do social distancing. And so I think that I'm going to support what the principals have here, and hopefully we can implement it, because they know what's going on in their schools. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Gilio?
I'm in full support of this calendar.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I will not support this. First of all, New York City is reopening their schools again because they found that, here it is, CDC director, okay, this is the man we've been listening to, CDC director, schools among the safest places kids can be, closing schools an emotional response not backed by data. November 19th, this article came out. And it's this CDC director, Robert Redfield, said that on Thursday, K-12 schools should remain open because data shows the schools are among the safest, let's emphasize that, places that kids can be from a pandemic. And attempts to go to schools are nothing more than an emotional response. And then he says here, over the summer, Redfield said that the threat of suicide, drugs, and the seasonal flu represented a greater threat to kids than the coronavirus. He said, we're seeing, sadly, far greater suicides now than we are deaths from COVID. Redfield said at the time, we're seeing far greater deaths from drug overdoses that are above excess that we had as background that we're seeing deaths from COVID. This is why I keep coming back for the overall social being of individuals, he continued, is let's all work together, find out how we can get a common ground to get these schools open in a way that people are comfortable and they're safe. So here he is, Redfield. He's the one who said, shut this country down, do all this with Fauci. He's saying schools are the safest places for our students. And yet we have this remote program here. And it says also, I should read CDC director, and I want everybody to see that I'm reading this from paper. I'm just not making this up. I don't make things up. Robert Redfield pointing out that the obvious that triggers teachers union, which is the extensive data that confirms K through 12 schools can operate face-to-face learning, and they do it safely and they could do it responsibly. So I'm not going to support this. I felt from the beginning our kids are being shortchanged here with, even if they get into school, which they haven't even gotten in for the hybrid, the 2.5 days, and we're still doing remote K through 12. And yet we have our students that have the highest incident of immune deficiency, our special needs kids are in school, and we're all coming out of this okay. So I'm not going to support this. Our students need to be back in school at this point in time. And if we don't listen to the CDC director, Robert Redfield, then I guess it's pointless. I mean, he's the one who's calling the shots. He's not even an elected person. He's the CDC. And he says this, we're not even listening to the experts out there. So I will not support this. Thank you.
Point of information, I'm sorry to interrupt, but New York City is only opening elementary schools. They are not opening secondary schools. And also, Mr. Redfield has been under a lot of political pressure. There was an article in the New York Times that said there was political pressure for him to say to open the schools. I think we all listen to the CDC, but there's also some political pressure there. Just wanted to make sure that we had the facts that New York City is only opening their elementary schools, not all their schools, and their middle schools and high schools will not be open.
Thank you for that.
May I rebut that, please, too? Okay, so New York City is opening up their elementary schools. We're not even doing that. And New York City is bigger than us and has a higher rate if they do have the rate of COVID. And as far as I'm concerned, this comes from the Daily Wire. And so, and I'm sure I can find this, everything is political. I'm not getting into the politics of this. I'm getting into what this man is saying. So I'd like to leave the politics out of this, please. Thank you.
I know, I would
It's not
too.
about politics, it's about our
But
students.
there is political pressure there, just to be fair.
Thank you.
Thank-
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Greeno, for the point of information. But yes, although we are elected officials, let's try and keep politics out of our school decisions and our discussions. I've lost my place and my chart. Ms. Oden.
Thank you. Maybe a couple weeks ago, we saw a copy of a survey that was going out to parents. Do we have the results of that survey?
Dr. Mosley or Ms. Hines?
I don't think, I just want to, we were going to send a poll out, but we did not get clarification on where that lied or how that was aligned to what the presentation was probably about a month ago. So my understanding was that there was some questions about that we didn't get a chance to address the last board meeting. There's a poll that we have developed for our public to decide whether they want to remain in remote or explore hybrid. So the votes today, and this came up in email too, how this all turns out and where the board wants to go with that will have an impact on how that poll is aligned. There's a lot of confusion here on where we're going here. So the votes tonight will clarify that, and we'll be happy to send that poll out. But we were slated to send that poll out about a month ago, and then things got lost in translation here a little bit. So we just asked that the board just take the vote, and we'll start to move forward on this, on a lot of the issues such as placement for our kids in the hybrid or remote come the next semester.
I'm sorry, go on.
No, I just wanted to ask a clarifying question here. If the board approves this principal's revised calendar, as I have dubbed it this evening, the hybrid that we're talking about is the half-day hybrid that has been the presentation and expectation all along, correct?
That's the hybrid we've been talking about for the last 4 months, correct?
Oh, the one that we have the MOUs with the union for, everything has been arranged. So, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mosley. Ms. Oden, I'm sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
that's okay. I asked that question because you have to think about staff. Do we have the staffing for the hybrid as opposed to the remote? And it would have helped to know how many people had chosen remote as opposed to hybrid in looking at this. So I thought maybe we'd have some information about that because I am concerned about staffing. Was there any way, I know the high school teachers are somewhat concerned about not having any period of time between first semester and second semester. Is there any time, is there any way you were able to give them a breather to get ready, even prepare the class list for a second semester, either Mr. Richard or Mr. Burns? Could you answer that?
Yeah, we had discussed maybe at the last meeting we were here using some time for freshman orientation, which might give us some buffer there. So we have not solidified anything. I think we're all waiting to see how the vote goes, to see how we're moving forward so we can start planning.
Okay, thank you so much. Those were my questions. Oh, I had one more. I got quite a few emails from teachers. A couple said how valuable they thought the Friday was important for building relationships with the kids, the office hours. And then another teacher said it was great having Friday for PLCs. So I was wondering if are PLCs included in the office hours?
Yep, we
Okay.
have. Yep, they meet in the mornings and the off hours start after that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dottie, and thank you, Mr. Richards. For those of us who aren't great with acronyms, PLC?
Professional learning communities.
Okay. So where the teachers and other staff and professionals can talk to each other, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful. I actually have a couple of questions myself, and since I'm next alphabetically, I'm going to go. So my question is two things. One is it possible that under this new calendar, where we could have a situation where, for example, there's staffing available and elementary school is in session, but we discover that either Mr. Richard or Mr. Burns doesn't have staff to be able to facilitate hybrid. Like, I know we're getting into hypotheticals, but I want to be aware of the staffing issues. And two, under this model, what happens to the remote kids when they're at the elementary? I think it's settled, but in middle school and high school, what happens with the remote instruction? Right now they have specific times of the day when half of their peers are in hybrid instruction on a half a day.
I can take that one. So basically the plan would be to do synchronous learning with the students at the high school. So those students that are home would be logging on and streaming in with their classmates. So the teacher would be in front of the class, recording the lesson, presenting to the students in front of them. And at the same time, the students at home would be logged in and working with their teacher. And then, you know, the idea would be too, if we had a teacher that was approved to be remote, that they would stream into the classroom, and hopefully we'd be able to find a staff member to supervise those students that are in school on those given days.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, sorry, Mr. Bird, excuse me. I just want to add to what Mr. Bird said. There's a little bit of a caveat that Mr. Bird said at the end of his sentence. If we can find a faculty member, please understand that. And I don't want to give any false impressions to the public or to the board or to the students. So my follow-up question is, Mr. Burns and Mr. Richards and the principals here, if you can't find a staff member and you can't do asynchronous learning, then what can the public and the students and the faculty and the board expect?
So I think, we'd have to continue with what we're doing right now and have, fully remote if we're not able to provide staffing within the building to supervise our students adequately.
So following up to that, it sounds like we could have a situation where at any particular school, I don't want to single out Mr. Burns and Mr. Richard. We have, 17 schools that we're talking about. We could have a situation where one particular school or two particular schools has to declare a remote learning day on what would normally be a hybrid day because they may not have enough physical staff in the building, correct?
Correct. I think we've had problems, at the high schools already with not having enough substitutes to come in. So if we have teachers that are out and sick, in the past, we've been able to kind of put the students within the cafeteria or in the auditorium to have, a couple subs supervising, 5 or 6 classes due to their shortage of subs that we've had. Now we're not going to be able to do that. So there may be some mornings where Mr. Richard or I get up and look at our sub list and determine, hey, we have, 15 people out today, 10 uncovered classrooms. We're going to have to call it a day and not have students come in. And hopefully we're able to do that prior to buses picking students up at 6:30 in the morning and not having to turn the buses around as they get into the schools.
Okay, thank you. And I saw Mr. Falzerano had taken himself off mute. I don't know if anybody else had because I can't see everybody.
Thank you. All of those same scenarios exist at the middle school, maybe not quite to the level that they may at the high school, but it still exists as possibilities that we could have to call. We could have to call one of the middle schools, 2 of the middle schools, or all of the middle schools, depending on the day, a remote day. So you could essentially have 2 middle schools going, one not. It all depends on the staffing.
Okay. And so for the middle school, is the plan also to do a form of synchronous learning for those students at home while some of their classmates are in school?
I'm going to practice my politics and my political answer. We're currently working on. We have 4 different models that we're playing with. We meet regularly on Mondays, so that is one of the scenarios. As soon as we get some data points, hopefully when the calendar passes, and we can know fully what we have in front of us, we're prepared to look at 1, 2, or all of those, bring them forward. So it's a potential, yes, that could be one of the scenarios.
Okay. And my last question is, should the board approve the principal's revised calendar as it's written? At what point, Dr. Mosley, would you need to come back to the board to say, we need to change this, or we need something from the board to back up or to move in the other direction? And that's maybe too hypothetical, but
I think the best thing right now, I unfortunately I can't answer that question because it's certainly I can't predict how many staff are going to show up. Or how this pandemic is kind of playing out right now. It could be a totally different picture in January. So one of the things I think that this is a kind of a building the plane as we start to go up in the air a little bit. Certainly, if we see trends where we're going to know quickly. Because certainly parents are not going to be able to rely on the schools for that time of instruction that they think that their kid is going to get. For example, when we go hybrid and we don't have enough students, and to build on what Mr. Richard has said, what Mr. Fagiano has said, we may have to send the kids back home. And that may be a problem for some of our working families because they're anticipating us actually having kids in the building. We don't have the staffing for it. So if we notice a pattern of high absenteeism within maybe one full week and we don't have the staff, we may have to switch to remote. So the only thing my reaction would be is that there's a level of flexibility that we have to bring to this with the hybrid at this point. And to Mr. Burns's point, as we're making, and I say not we, but we're getting faculty who are who are coming into contact with COVID who aren't even in the building. And so that's another variable that we're struggling with as well. Miss O'Gara, can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know that you've been dealing with it more than I have directly. You're on mute, Dana. You're on mute, Dana. You're on mute.
Yeah, I got it. Yes, we have faculty who are contracting COVID and can be from family members. Mostly it's not necessarily from the kids, or it could be from other teachers as well in the building being in the same time. But for the most part, it's from other people that they're contacting it.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question, Miss Raymond. I'm sorry if I didn't.
I think you did to the extent that it is answerable at this point. I think I just wanted to be reassured that that if changes needed to be made, that you would ask us to make them. Like, do you know what I mean? That and also to let you know and let people know that we can be convened, especially as we're meeting virtually, fairly quickly, should you need something from the board.
Thank you.
Change. So that's kind of it.
Thank you.
So that's all I have. Ms. Timmons?
Thank you. I don't want to second guess the principals. I think they know what's important in the building and what's going on in that building. And I agree with Mr. Garino. I would approve the principal calendar. Let me vote.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Ms. Ziem?
I wanted to be sure. I remember the emails we got from, basically it was bicentennial. And when you revise the date, it confuses us simple people. And so I want to be confident. They were saying that between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's a little gap. And they were saying that they would like to have that gap where they could have their classes, as I recall. Is that indeed in this motion taken care of? Can anybody tell me that?
Hello? Yeah, I know, they're complete silence.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't speak well. My gibberish is.
No, it's fine. Mr. Mahoney, please.
Yeah, I know that at the Curriculum and Evaluation Committee meeting, those days on our original calendar, we did include continuing with kindergarten and grade 1 hybrid classes from the 14th through the 18th, and then again the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. That would give you your A students, your A cohort would be in Monday, Tuesday, the first week, B Wednesday, Thursday. The following week, you would have A Monday, Tuesday, and then B would just be in that one day. But at the Curriculum Evaluation Committee meeting, that was taken off our original calendar. So we figured there was a reason for that. So we didn't want to undo what had been done there.
See, I have a real struggle when board members are making professional decisions. In my view, the teachers are most qualified to determine that kind of decision. And so I would like those put back in. And then if they vote it, but obviously it would be an amendment. So I make amendment that we put those back in the way they were originally presented. If I can get a second and it carries, great. If it doesn't, then I will still vote for this motion because it sounds to me like this is the best we can do under these difficult circumstances. But I would like to, I want those teachers to know that I heard them. And I think it's important for them to know that we appreciate. And the way we show that appreciation is when they come with reasonable, and it sounded reasonable to me, but if there's something unreasonable about it, please tell me. But it sounded so reasonable coming from them that I would like to make the amendment that that be put back in the way it was originally presented. And I think I hear you saying it's not in this calendar.
my understanding, Mrs. Ziem, is that at the curriculum evaluation, the principals were charged with making a revision to the calendar. And so that's what they did. So I guess the question is, you'd like the original, I'm clarifying, the original calendar?
My only concern is that these days that Mr. Mahoney was just enumerating, the ones he just, I mean, there were just 2 or 3 days, right? It wasn't a lot of days. But my understanding was that the teachers were saying that this was a time when they, in particular, the reading was being promoted, and they would like to have that in there. And so unless somebody can say to me that that's more risky, I don't, yes, I would like that. Yes, the answer is yes, Dr. Mosley. I would like to have that put back in. If the rest of the board doesn't agree with me, then that's fine. I've lost before, as you well know, so I can live with that. I'll live with whatever I have to live with. Thank you.
I think Ms. Fulton had the answer to that question in her letter. Ms. Fulton?
Yes, thank you. So as we looked at what was left of December, which was basically 4 days for A's and 3 days for B's. And when we looked at the rise in what is happening now with the return from Thanksgiving, the epidemiology is pointing that we felt it would be too risky to just bring them in for those 4 days and 3 days, and then we're back out again. And in speaking with our teachers, they looked at that and felt the same way, that it might be just better to keep them in a routine of remote and then begin all together January 19th. Now, we did change and ask that January 19th week could be a week for our kinders and our first graders to come back because they've been gone for a while and get acclimated back to the school before the next week we add 2 grade levels, and the next week everybody's in the building. So that was something that we all discussed and felt that would be the right choice, looking at the way the world is right now. And trying to get subs and things like that, it's quite difficult.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Ziem?
So may I ask Mrs. Bolton, so you're saying that there is a risk of the substitute teachers not being available for those days because they are deeming this is a high risk?
Yes, ma'am, they are. And I had the example in my own building where a sub walked out on me when a child had to be sent to the nurse.
But so the people who voted on this were the principals? You're telling me there were teachers?
The principals with the input from our teachers, yes.
So, all right, I will, I guess I'll let my amendment go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ziem.
And what was the change now? Would you just explain to me why it was changed from what they presented at all, the date? I think Mrs. Brown changed it, but I didn't understand why that was changed. Or
Ms. Raymond, may I enter a point of information?
Yes, please.
So at the Curriculum Evaluation Committee meeting, we actually had added back in at the request of Ms. Barsha Bagley to include the students between the dates of after the 14 days of quarantine period after Thanksgiving I'm sorry, I flipped back my calendar back a page, from the 14th to the 23rd, to keep the students in intensive needs who are already in the building programs to come back continuously. So we actually, and I don't know if this qualifies in this as well, because it seems to me before we had the first or second graders in at that point, according to the calendar. I can't remember which one we were looking at. So it's actually exactly what you're requesting, Ms. Ziem, is that those students would still be in the building for the 14th to the 23rd is what we
so
had
it's in
suggested.
this motion.
So I'm not sure what's, if someone can clarify for me, it says resumes hybrid pre-K.
And those are the intensive needs students. Intensive
need programs. And then did we have the first and second graders in before, according to already, are they in school?
So originally they have been in school.
Right. So I think that
First
according
graders.
to what our advisement from the committee was to bring the students who are already in the building back into the building between the 14th and the 23rd, which I think is what you're asking for, Ms. Ziem, in accordance with what the teachers and parents had sent you in motions. So in regards to that, if you would like to edit the calendar accordingly, I would be happy to second your motion.
So let's just be clear, though, that Ms. Fulton just explained and in her letter why the principals are recommending against that.
Well, then you can call the question and we can answer it and we can
Well,
vote on it,
there's
vote
not-
up or down.
Well, it's up to Ms. Ziem. She retracted her motion. So
I have to, again, I have great respect for Mrs. Fulton. I will tell you, she was my grandson's principal last year. I found her to be very effective, and I will always love you for that. And so based on you telling me that you feel the teachers are now convinced that this is a high risk and that we need to be safe and not sorry, I will bend to your greater wisdom. Thank you. But that doesn't, now, Jessica, you are free to make any motion. I'm not taking away from your ability to do anything you choose to do. But for me, I'll stand back. Thank you.
okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Ziem. Ms. Bishop indicated in the chat that she has a follow-up question. I'd also like to allow Mr. Gao and Mr. Norris if they have anything to add before we take the vote. Ms. Bishop?
Thank you. I have to apologize for my cat being here. I feel like the evil guy from the old Inspector Gadget commercial when they're sitting here, or cartoon. I had a question about needing to send the kids home if we don't have enough staffing. Are we able to tap into the staff resources through the Adult Learning Center and through 21st Century to avoid that kind of chaotic day if we need to send kids home early?
We will tap into anyone that wants to come into the building to help us out at this point. Please contact HR. We will do all we can. And yes, we'll do all we can to get the kids supervised, but please understand these are not absolutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley, and thank you, Ms. Bishop. Mr. Gao?
One thing that I was worried about with the hybrid schedule, just like simply the loss of face time with the hybrid model, which of course was like brought up before. So I was wondering, I think the webcams might play like a huge role in solving that problem. So I was wondering when we'll be having the webcams and whether that would be hopefully before hybrid begins.
Dr. Mosley, I believe that was part of the financial, motions that we had made 2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think the plan is that we got, and it's just kind of jogging my memory. I know Greg will probably chime in at one point. I know he's not here, but it's my understanding that the goal is to get it by, we have to have at least the equipment in by December 31st. Is that correct, Dan? Dan? I don't know if he's here. I can't see Dan. He's around here somewhere. But
I believe it has to be in use also. It's not just not being in, but it has to be being used.
Okay. All right. Well, in the hands of the teachers.
That sounds, so you're saying that they will be in the hands of the teachers by December 31st?
The plan is to have them in the hands of the teachers by that time.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's really reassuring. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gao. Mr. Norris?
Thank you. So I want to reiterate Josh's concern. I think this is a step in the right direction. It should absolutely be approved. But I think we definitely should have a conversation on what a hybrid plan looks like, because I know we often get caught up on trying to just get back in school, but I think we need to make sure that changing to hybrid is worth what we're giving up. We need to make sure that our in-person time is worth giving up all of our time with our teachers on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. If there are no other comments or questions, I'd like to go ahead and take the roll on the motion to approve the principal's revised calendar for December 2020 through February 1st, 2021.
Okay. On the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all. And so now we have the winter athletics. Ms. Gingras gave us an update to her very thorough athletics plan. Ms. Gingras, did you have anything that you wish to speak to on that before I open the floor for questions?
No, just the couple of things that are listed there in terms of, as a division, everybody that we are going to compete against, we did agree to wear masks during competition for basketball and for ice hockey.
Wow.
The governor's mask mandate, which came out on November 19th, has an exception that allows for people engaged in strenuous physical activity are exempt from the mask mandate. But we did agree that we are still going to wear them for basketball and for ice hockey. For some of our other sports things, such as swimming, obviously you can't wear a mask while you're in the pool. Gymnastics is a major safety issue. If you think about being on a balance beam, attempting to look down, you have no vision. So that would be a safety concern separate from COVID. Similar with competitive gymnastics, wearing a mask is a safety concern, as well as in wrestling. So that's probably the biggest thing that I want to make sure people are aware of. We did also agree as a division, everyone we are competing against, it would be like it was in the fall, that there would be no visiting fans at any events anywhere. And then I just kind of gave you a breakdown of some listings. The first group there is, as of before Thanksgiving, that's the list of school districts that have approved winter sports at this point. One addition would be Pinkerton has at this point stated that they would not be competing in wrestling. They will be practicing but not competing. And then just the breakouts of our cohorts. It looks like our high schools have a big cohort there, but basketball has one cohort and ice hockey has a different cohort because of the physical nature of ice hockey. We also took competitiveness a little bit into play and not just where people were located. One thing to be aware of in addition to that is at the high school level, track, swim, dive, and gymnastics are in jeopardy only because there's no place to hold competitions for those. We actually got official word today that there would be no regular season for indoor track. Although at this point in time, they're still looking at whether or not it's possible to have some sort of state competition. So if the board approves this evening, those three high school sports are still a little bit questionable in terms of what the regular season and state championship season would look like.
Thank you, Ms. Gingras. Ms. Brown? Can't see Ms. Brown.
Hi. Thank you. Can I move to accept the high school athletic plans as presented and updated on 11/30/2020 by Ms. Lisa Gingras?
I will second the motion.
Just to be clear, is this just for high school or did I mishear?
Well, she said high school.
Oh, Ms. Brown, you're on mute, my dear.
I approve the athletic plan presented by Ms. Lisa Gingras as updated on 11/30/2020.
Okay. So it's district-wide. Okay. I'll second that.
I already did.
Oh, you already did. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
all right.
behind.
I don't know if you heard me.
Okay. So now, do you have any comments or questions, Ms. Brown?
Sure. Well, though I am discouraged by the continuing hypocrisy of the district to enthusiastically support our student athletes emotionally and physically, while simultaneously ignoring the SEL and academic needs of so many of our less athletically inclined high school students and students district-wide, I wholeheartedly support continuing with athletics for the remainder of the school year and will vote as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Guarino?
Are we ready for the vote?
No. Do you have a comment or a question on athletics?
Oh, okay. So you're going around again. I see.
Yep. This is my new thing. While we're on Zoom,
Okay. All right.
go around the list.
I'm just going to say I'm glad that we're back at this point and we can get kids back out there moving. That athletics are just as much a part of education as reading, writing, and arithmetic. I believe in a sound mind and a sound body, and they teach kids social skills and camaraderie, and it's very important. It's a part. It's a part of an integral part of an overall system. So I don't. I want to get kids back into the classroom as soon as possible, and also, but I also want to congratulate our athletes for what they did in the fall season, which is keep everybody safe, the coaches, the parents, and the students, and hopefully we can do the same over the winter. I want them to have a great season, and I wish them the best for the future. Even though it is not actually back to normal, there's a lot of things that we can't do, but there's a lot of things that we can do. So I believe in the possibility. I believe in doing what's possible. So with that, I'm going to say I'm glad that we made this motion and we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Giglio?
Yeah, I'm going to support this motion, but I have to say that if I still had children in the schools, I would probably not be letting them participate in athletics. That is my choice as a parent. That is how my family is treating the pandemic. However, I have heard from many parents and many students for whom the athletic programs are extremely important, and I want to make them available for those students, understanding that it's they and their parents that have to make the decision. And I appreciate Ms. Gingras for making all the safety precautions that are absolutely possible and necessary. So I will vote in favor of it.
Thank you, Ms. Giglio. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I'm going to support this because I do feel our students need this little outlet because they're not in school. But I guess what bothers me is that our student can't be in school because of COVID-19, but they can play sports because I guess there's no COVID-19. I don't understand this. COVID-19 in school, but no COVID-19 playing sports. So Ms. Gingras, how many cases of COVID-19 have we seen in the state since our students have been playing sports throughout the state? Do you have that figure or the percentage?
Specifically on our athletic teams or in the state in general?
In the state in general.
I would have to go and look at the school dashboard to know what our numbers are in terms of at the state level. I know that our numbers have been significantly on the rise since August, but there have not been any reported cases contracted through interscholastic athletics.
Oh, so I guess it's right when they say kids of ages aren't real spreaders. and if they wear a mask. I know I wear a mask when I'm at work, although they say the mask is only 3 or 13% effective. I wear a mask all the time. I'm going to support this because I feel that these students need this outlet right now. It's a shame that we're not getting them back in the classroom, but we can get them out there to play sports, indoor sports more now, but not in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Oden?
Thank you. First, I want to thank Ms. Gingras for what she did for fall sports. I think Nashua had to forfeit some games because other teams had problems. And you laid out a good detailed plan for our coaches and for our students, and it seemed to work. I think having a plan to get some of our students who want to go back to school in the hybrid passed tonight. I am going to support this. I think you've done a great job, and I'm hoping we can come up with as much detail in the plan for our students in school as what you have come up with for our athletes. So thank you, and thank you to your North team, you and Mr. Burns, for the state championship in football. Nice honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. I am also reluctant because I feel like winter sports are a different beast than fall sports. Fall sports are outside, but I am reassured by the commitment that Ms. Gingras has made regarding mask wearing. And I see how right now we're not having sports in my house because fall sports are over and winter sports haven't started. And I see the effect on my children when they don't have that physical outlet. So I very much want to allow other families to have that if they choose to have it. So that's kind of where I fall on this. And I appreciate the work you've done, Ms. Gingras, and the work that the principals did on coming up with the calendar and the willingness of our coaches to get back out there and support the students and do the extra work of the checklists and the temperature checks and all the other safety cleaning precautions that everybody is doing. So thank you to everybody who has done that in the fall and who's willing to do it continuously in the winter. Ms. Timmons? Okay. Ms. Ziem?
I just want to say that this is such a difficult time when you're in leadership. And to those of you who are in leadership in our district, I want you to know that from my perspective, we are divided on this. It's a divided topic. You have those who think, we should go full force, and there are the others who feel we need to be safe. And what I think is we need to respect each other's differences and be kind to one another in this process. And I want to say to all of our leaders, I don't envy you your leadership positions now because it is a lose-lose. You cannot win. If you vote one way, the other side dislikes you. And if you vote the other way, the other side. So you can't win. And I just want you to know from my perspective, you're everyone winners. Lisa, you're a champion. Dr. Mosley, I could never have carried the burden you've carried with this. Every one of you, Mr. Richards and Mr. Byrne, all of you, just know that even in our differences, we respect our differences. I will be voting for this. You all know I voted for it the first time. I think that, as someone else said, it's a choice for the parents at this point. They don't have to play sports. So if they're concerned about it, they can withdraw their children. But for those who want to play and feel comfortable to do it, then I'm voting positive. But please know that we all love you. That because we disagree doesn't mean we don't respect you and appreciate what you bring to our district. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. Ms. Bishop?
Hi, thanks. I have to agree with Ms. Brown on the fact that it's a bit frustrating to see that we can ensure safety of our sports teams and our sports students, but we can't put that same level of detail into the classroom. We're touting parents' choice in regards to sports, but we're not allowing that to happen in the classroom. I think that's unfortunate. I think right now we need to be remote. We need to be staying home. Numbers are rising. Everybody's filling up everywhere. I also just want to point out that one of the main reasons that we're staying remote for the students is because we can't guarantee staffing. Yet we can guarantee coaching. I don't understand. Those are typically teachers, as well as they're not always teachers. But we're still not. I mean, we're guaranteeing coaching is there, but we can't guarantee teachers are there. And on a bigger community level, I think getting kids into school and getting them safely onto the courts, onto the fields, into the classroom is a bit more important than getting people back into the bars and the restaurants and walking around downtown and, letting everyone else kind of go willy-nilly. Education is the foundation of what our children are going to turn into and what kind of adults they're going to become. And they're going to be the ones fraternizing the bars and the restaurants when it comes time to that. So I obviously will vote the same way that I voted this whole time about sports, which is the priority needs to be on safely getting our kids into the classroom and educated that way. I'm glad that I'm in the minority. I'm glad sports will be going through, it sounds like. But I can't vote for something when we're putting education, when we're not allowing the parents' choice to be present in education and only in sports. So I think you all know my answer on that. But Ms. Gingras, again, you did a fantastic job. I truly enjoy listening to your presentations that you gave at the last one, but very detail focused. You come up with scenarios and solutions for every foreseeable problem. And you definitely have an eye for problem solving. I appreciate that, but I will be not supporting this, but thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Ms. Gingras, did you have something?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I just wanted to clarify for Mrs. Oden. We did have to cancel a few games this fall for a variety of different reasons, but none of our teams had to forfeit any games. So that was one thing I wanted to clarify. And then for Mrs. Bishop, right now we have less than 40% of my coaching staff are teachers in the district. It's something that I'm working very hard at, love to see increased, but we have a lot more coaches that are not teachers. And COVID has affected some of our coaching staff as well. Currently, I still have 9 winter openings, and I've had 5 recent resignations due specifically they are leaving their coaching position because of COVID.
I have a question to Ms. Gingras. Did you ever say that you would guarantee that you'd have all coaches for staff?
I did not guarantee that. No, I will do my best, but I can't hire people who don't apply.
Thank you.
And I did just have one clarifying question for Mrs. Brown. I believe your motion was to approve athletics for the winter, but then in your comments, you did make a comment about the school year. So I didn't know if you wanted to save time. And since spring sports are outside, if you wanted to kind of just approve the rest of the school year all at once.
I'll be happy to take the amendment, but I don't know for sure if that'll pass with the rest of the board members. So
I made one motion, but then in your comment, you did use the phrase school year. So I just wanted to put that out there because it could potentially save us some time in February.
It could, but I think you should just take the win now.
I'll take it.
Okay. Mr. Norris and then Mr. Gao, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this conversation? Mr. Norris?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about this during my comment, but I guess I'll speak on it now.
It's up to you completely.
I'll speak on it now before we vote. So when the board first voted to table winter athletics last meeting, I was flooded with messages from students, parents, coaches. They were all expressing how disheartened they were by this decision. They all emphasized how the positive impact that being on a sports team during the fall had on their mental health and general well-being. So I know firsthand the benefits sports can provide, especially during a pandemic. It offered me a way to interact with my teammates, get exercise, and most importantly, just have fun, basically. So I understand that giving our students a comprehensive education should be and is the most important thing on our minds at this time, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But that said, I don't believe that the issue of sports should be tied to whether Nashua students are in school. Both these environments have their own separate risk factors, safety protocols, and organization, and therefore should be treated as unrelated matters. Ms. Gingras gave an extremely thorough presentation at the last meeting, leaving no protocol untouched and answering every question and concern precisely. She has even added additional safety measures in her proposal for this meeting regarding visiting fans and mask usage. The athletic department, as well as Nashua student athletes, have proven already that they have the ability to safely run a sports season. I know the winter season does provide some additional barriers being inside, but I think it should be highlighted again that during the fall season, Nashua athletics had 0 positive COVID cases. This decision has already been delayed past an optimal point for the athletics department, so I believe the board should approve winter athletics as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Mr. Gao?
Thank you. I definitely agree with what Ms. Brown was saying about how if we can open athletics, why can't we open schools? But at the same time, I do think still supporting this motion is really important. Like as a student right now, I feel like getting everything we can is definitely for our best interest. So we would definitely, or I would definitely love to see winter sports still happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gao. Did anyone have a follow-up question or comment? I can't see everybody, so you'd have to put it in the chat. Even that little hand raising thing only shows up if I can see you. Okay, Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll, please?
Okay, on the motion to approve Ms. Gingras's plan for winter sports, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson?
Yes.
Sandra Ziem?
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop?
No.
Sharon Gilio?
Yes.
Jessica Brown?
Yes.
Heather Raymond?
Yes.
Dottie Oden?
Yes.
Gloria Timmons?
Yes.
I have 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries 8-1.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, so moving on, we have approved the proposed calendar. It's no longer proposed. We've approved the principal's calendar and we have approved the winter athletics plan. So back to our regular order of operations. Dr. Mosley, do I see your hand?
Yes, we have another matter that's all connected to this. And again, I'm looking for the board support and understanding on the poll. And the poll is going to go out in conjunction with all of the information that was discussed today. And we did not want to send it unless the board was aware of it. If you want to vote on it, you can also vote on it. But we need the board support when we send this, when we send this poll out. It's basically going to determine for next semester whether parents want the remote option or the hybrid option. So I just want to be clear on that to the public and to the board. We're looking to send this out at the end of the week, and the reaction we get is going to be directly given to the principals, and they can start planning accordingly. I can't see Stacy. Stacy, did I miss anything on that? I can't.
Sorry about that. Yes, no, not really. It's just, really, it's a single question poll. We just want to identify the families who want their children to remain in remote learning only. That'll help the principals a lot in staffing, making plans for staffing.
The poll was also in not this previous packet, but in the last packet as well. So the board has seen the poll.
So yes, we have. Missy?
Well, as I recall, and I may be recalling incorrectly, it only asked hybrid, and I'm wondering why it didn't actually take a poll on all three. I understand that it doesn't mean that we would do all three, but I think it would show, I don't know, I just think that it's a good thing to do. We're sending it out anyway. So if there are those who feel, I don't think it's 50%, I truly don't. But who knows? It would be interesting to know. And if we're sending it out anyway, why do we not include all three? And if there's a reason, then I understand.
Dr. Mosley?
Yes.
I like it. I like the poker face that I'm getting.
I said, yeah, like, I'll do whatever you want. We'll add another third one if you'd like, whatever. We're up against the deadline here. It's December 1st, and we have to start to get, once we send this out, we have approximately 2 weeks before we have to do follow-up, meaning that we have to follow up with families on tracking their response. So this is going to take a lot longer than we anticipate. So I don't want the board to be surprised. I want us to be on the same page. If you want the in-person, we'll put that there. If that's what the board should yield. To the faculty's credit, the principals just want to know how to group kids. And the sooner they know, the better off everything's going to run smoothly. The longer we push this off, the more difficult it's going to be.
So I know Dr. Mosley just saw me have like a big sigh because I really don't think that it is board business to be writing polls. I really think that this is something that falls under Dr. Mosley and the communication director, or even the principals to their own staff. I just don't think it's in it. I think it's worthwhile to have a conversation publicly about what the purpose and the expectation is, so that the public knows. And my understanding from curriculum evaluation and this evening and the last meeting is that the principals and administration need to have a sense of how many families are choosing to stay remote. Because if you're not choosing to stay remote, then by default, you get hybrid into full-time, assuming the pandemic goes well and we ratchet up. But if you choose remote, you can't then switch horses midstream and say in March that you want to go be in school, right?
That's the gist of it. And I'll just add, thank you, Ms. Raymond. And the other caveat to this is that we want to place remote kids with remote teachers, hybrid teachers with hybrid kids. That's the plan too.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley. That's important. So everybody is sending me chat messages that they have questions. So I'm just going to go down the list again because I think it's efficient and it gives everybody an opportunity. So alphabetically, Mr. Guarino.
What is the question? Do we want to go with the polls or not, or do we want to let the?
Well, so Dr. Mosley and Ms. Hines have written a poll that basically says, do you want to remain or do you want to choose hybrid for your student from January to the end of the year? Right? That's essentially, or do you want to be a hybrid student? Dr. Mosley, did I summarize that properly? Yes.
Stace.
The actual question reads, my child will participate in remote learning only from January to June.
Okay. So if you don't choose that, then by default, you're hybrid.
So there's no
or in person.
Right. When we get to that point, but you have to we have to get up there to get there.
Right. So there's
So
no,
I guess my question is, do you have any question or comments on, I don't know, feedback that you wish to give them, even though I strongly feel that this is a administrative task and not a Board of Education task?
yeah, I think there should be, I agree with that, but I think there should be some flexibility. Well, if possible, they should have some flexibility if things get better by some miracle, and we're expecting vaccinations in the spring, but it might be too late at that time, actually. But I agree that I would let administration handle it.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Gilio?
I have two things to say. I totally agree with Ms. Raymond that this is not a board decision to be made. I believe it lies with administration. And the question sounds very simple from the way Ms. Hines read it to us. So I think that people aren't going to be terribly confused in responding to it. But I just wanted to say that that our immediate task is to just find out which families want to keep their children remote for the rest of this year. And that I don't think we need to keep saying it, but maybe we do, that when it is safe for all our students to return to school and we have the staffing to provide that, that is what all of us want. So I don't think that needs to be included in the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I think the letter, and I said in the curriculum meeting, was worded pretty poorly. And I also, with the questions, I think there's going to be questions from parents as to, you're saying remote only. So what are my choices coming down the pike here? So I get it's administration, but we've had problems where it went out and it wasn't clear and parents contacted us and we kind of had like a little bit of egg on our face. But I think the wording on the front of the letter needs to be cleaned up a little bit because I was a little bit confused. And I think it needs to be clear here. And I think we should be able to, I agree with Ms. Thiem, that, parents who don't want to just do remote, we need to, I guess, see how many parents would do hybrid and how many would do in school if available. I mean, that's the whole thing with going back full time if available. So I think parents need to be heard once and for all because we didn't give them the choices prior to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Oden?
I had a question, but I think Ms. Hines cleared it up. I had concerns about the word remain in remote learning. And I thought, geez, what if somebody's child isn't in remote learning? But I think she changed the word to participate, which I see makes a difference because somebody who's not in remote can choose remote rather than remain in it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Timmons? Oh, Ms. Timmons, you're on mute, my dear.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ziem, do you have additional comments?
Please, thank you. I think about this. Basically, some of you are saying that you think this is an administrative decision. And to me, it's not an academic decision. To me, this is a decision that's made on, do you see this as an invasion of your right to choose for your child? However, having said that, I recently heard that one child went into one of the schools in Litchfield and gave 7 teachers COVID, 7 teachers over in Litchfield. But I understand they went hybrid and remote, not just hybrid, but remote, excuse me. And so, I can understand people who are voting in favor of safety. I understand it all day. What's not to understand? But I don't see how it can possibly hurt to know how many people, and at least they feel like they were asked. I mean, all this time we've never asked. So we really have no idea how many of these people feel, whether they're a minority or whether they're or whether they're like our recent election, 49 to 51 or whatever it was. So I personally would like to see it on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seem. Ms. Bishop?
Thank you. I think I just have the same question that I had with the original poll, and it's not from kind of a Board of Ed standpoint, but from a parent standpoint, which is, oh, Heather knew what I was going to ask, was in regards to, you know, is hybrid going to be full day or half day? I know I chose for my family to stay remote because I didn't know what hybrid was going to look like, and I would have had to arrange for different kind of childcare. I would love it if on the poll we were able to clearly define what hybrid looked like so that we can, so us parents that would have to arrange for childcare could have that heads up.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bishop. And I believe, because I asked this question earlier this evening, that hybrid is the half-day hybrid. And at some point in the future, hopefully, the numbers will go down or our staffing will increase or some magical time will come when we can, it's not magical, some appropriate time will come when we can step up from hybrid up to a full day program. But we don't have that plan yet. And I think that's something that administration is working on for the spring, should we get to that point. But the question is, right now, it's either remote or half-day hybrid until such time that hybrid ramps up through the phases that Dr. Mosley proposed back in August.
I'm fine with it so long as it just has that definition of what the hybrid is going to be. That's all.
Okay. Ms. Johnson had a follow-up question.
Yes. Where Ms. Bishop asked about, you know, full day or half day, I could never understand that if our students are already in the classroom, why couldn't they be in there for a full day? They've already had the contact with each other. So whether it's a half day or a full day, why wouldn't we just give them that full day, those 2 full days at least, rather than a half day with the contact? So I think that if you're going to go hybrid, then at least they get 2 full days versus half days. It doesn't make sense. You've already had the contact, whether they're wearing a mask or they weren't wearing the mask, they're already around each other. So it doesn't make sense on half days. And I think the students would be better to have the full days, to having the social interaction with their peers and their teachers at this point in time. They talk about that a lot with the social interaction with these students. So I think 2 full days at least on hybrid. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Brown, did I skip you?
Yes. Are you ready for me?
I'm so sorry. That was not intentional at all.
It's okay. No problem. I think I just hadn't gotten to you back. It's all good. So I agree with a few different things that the folks up here have said. I agree with Ms. Johnson. If you're in there for a half day, you might as well be in there for a full day because the exposure's already happened. I still go back to the fact that we don't need to be treating elementary school days the same as we're treating high school days. I think that's going to be really important moving forward and redefining what that hybrid schedule is for the different grade levels. I sort of actually agree with you, Ms. Raymond, on the fact that this is a administrative task, but not for the same reason. I don't think that this actually qualifies as a survey or a poll. I think the reason we're getting in the weeds here is because this is not an audience survey. We're not asking your opinion. This isn't a popularity poll to see where people stand on their comfort level of being in the school. This is a commitment form for how you want your family to have the second half of your school year. Do you want to be in person in some fashion, or do you want to be fully remote? What's your own level of safety? I consider this, I think if we maybe redefine this from a poll, stop calling it a poll or a survey, we're not taking your opinion, we are taking your commitment through the end of the year and consider it a form. I mean, we're actually not even using a proper survey vehicle, we're using a Google form. So this is like an electronic copy of all those papers that you fill out at the beginning of the school year. It just has to do with how you want your family to proceed for the second half of the year. So I don't think that the board, if this was a survey and we were asking for an audience participation or how they want to evaluate their level of comfort in the community, I think it would be important for the board to redefine this and weigh in. However, I think we should go ahead and send it out on behalf of the district and recognize that this is a commitment from the parents for the end of the year, not an opinion poll. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown. I see Dr. Mosley. Dr. Mosley, do you have anything else that you wanted to share with the board before we move on? Dr. Mosley is shaking his head and saying no.
I don't want to get into semantics, poll, survey. We're just trying to get this information out and to get it so that we can start doing the business of trying to get the kids and staff grouped accordingly. So thank you, and we'll just move forward on it. We took a couple of notes. We'll make the adjustments. I asked that the public, there's going to be an email at the bottom. It says covid19.edu Nashua. There's a Nashua account for that. If people have questions about what the survey is or need something answered, I ask that you use that email, and you'll get the most accurate and readily response back from us. Emailing the board will only get lost in translation and we can't react to it. We recognize that sending a poll, survey, perspective, whatever you want to call it out, some people get it, some people ask. That's why we have that email, and it just allows us to be reactive to it. So thank you so much for that clarification.
Could you please, I didn't write it down fast enough, the email?
It's, go ahead, Stace. Do you have it in front of you?
I do. It's covid-19@nashua.edu.
Okay, covid-19@nashua.edu. Thank you. Sorry, I like to take lots of notes. Okay, Ms. Oden, is your comment on this topic or a different topic?
Yes, it is. I just want to say, I agree with Ms. Brown in the fact that our elementary schools are quite different from the middle schools and the high schools. At the elementary level, we have remote teachers and hybrid teachers. There's usually at least 2 teachers at every grade, and often 3, sometimes 4. And I think it's important to look at full days for our elementary students. This is the foundation of their education. And I think it would be worthwhile to take a close look to see how we could get full days for our elementary students. I can understand the high school would be impossible from what I can see. I don't know enough about the middle schools, how they run with their teams. I wouldn't make that comment, but looking at our elementary schools, I would think we could easily, I shouldn't say the word easily, but I think we could work to have full days for our elementary students.
Thank you, Mr. Oden. I do think that now is a good time, this winter, to take a look at kind of a retrospective. How did the fall go? How did it go for other districts? You know, what's working, what can be improved, and perhaps have that through curriculum or have an update from Dr. Mosley or administration on if they believe any changes are necessary coming through probably the curriculum committee as we move forward with this process. Ms. Ziem?
I'd like to ask Dr. Mosley if when as a superintendent you discussed this with the different high school, middle school, elementary, did you separate them at all, or did you look at it as a whole? Because that's, I have no idea. I'm not, that's not intended disrespectfully.
No, I don't take it that way. I look at it both ways. I mean, we look at it at the, and I'll even do you one better, Mrs. Zimmer. Look at it from building to building. There are some elements, and I just want to be very clear to the public. We are in hybrid right now. We have teachers in the building. We have kids in the building. We have first graders there. I mean, we have second graders. We have preschool. We have special ed. So every day we are assessing. And to be honest with you, it depends on the building and it depends on the teachers. There have been elementary schools I haven't heard from. There have had elementary schools that have had multiple challenges. So it certainly is something to keep in mind. I would say that, looking, we are, if we can get, and again, I think to Keith Richards, and I can't remember the board member that said it, we want the kids back. And that's not one person here that doesn't want the kids back. We want them back full time. We do. We also want our faculty back. We want everything to be back as normal. But the reality is, whether you go hybrid or in person, it is going to be unpredictable. It's going to be unpredictable and flexible because we cannot control people when they're visiting with their friends, visiting with their loved ones. We're still waiting right now. All of us, we have conversations, Mrs. Zine. We're, 2 weeks from yesterday or 2 weeks from last week, we're hoping the numbers go down or there isn't a spread. Last week, Bobby Bagley came, not last week, the week before, she came and she gave a presentation on what to expect. We're tracking and doing the best we can. There is by far a difference between elementary, middle, and high school. That's it. And the difference is that there is greater flexibility at the elementary school because the teachers are generalists in the sense that a fifth grade teacher is a fifth grade teacher. That's not necessarily the case at the secondary level. If we can get the kids back safely and staff safely, we're going to do it. We look at it every day, but the reality is every day Dana's phone's ringing. That's it. Every day, got new guidelines are coming in. That's it. Every day, someone is dealing with someone in their family that has COVID, potentially dealing with it. And forget COVID for a second. We're still dealing with staffing just as a district. People get sick, they get cancer, they have babies, all of those things factor in. We talk as if the elementary school is okay right now in staffing. Okay, but as soon as we're off this Zoom, as soon as this meeting's over, when we go back 8:30 tomorrow in our staff meeting, that can be completely different. And I just want us all to understand that the hybrid or even the in-person is going to be a little unpredictable, not consistent, because we cannot control how many kids contract or come in contact with COVID or the staff. And if any parent that chooses it needs to understand what they're getting into, because it's not fair to say, buyer beware. So, that's my response, Mrs. Eam, and certainly thank you for all of the nice and kind words that you've given us. And you recognize that, I think we all recognize that it's not easy.
Oh.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley.
Yes.
Ms. Gingras reminds me that we forgot one thing regarding winter athletics. So switching gears back to that.
You forgot something?
Thank goodness she's here with her very logical and organized mind to keep us on track.
We forget, Lisa.
So we had in the fall suspended our policy JJJA, which is academic eligibility, and just required students to pass 50% of their classes, given the extraordinary and acute nature of COVID. I think that we ought to do that again. And frankly, I think we should do it just ongoing to the end of the year because, while they're talking about a vaccine, it's not going to be distributed in March. So I just think we ought to allow the maximum number of students and families who want to participate in athletics to do so, even if their grades are slipping because of the existence of the pandemic.
So moved.
Well, let me get the motion out.
Let's keep it moving.
So the motion that I am looking for is a motion to suspend policy JJJA, academic eligibility for extracurricular activities for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year. All students who pass a minimum of 50% of their classes, assuming a full course load, will be eligible to compete in interscholastic athletics for any of the Nashua middle or high schools.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Ziem. I'll second it. Do I need to go around for comments? Or can people just quickly indicate in the chat if they feel the need to weigh in on this topic? I'm not getting anything, and I don't see anybody waving to me. So, Mr. Guarino, could you call the roll?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
No.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
I have 7 yeses, 2 nos. The motion carries 7-2.
I just want to put a disclaimer out there to say that we still encourage people to do their best in all of their academic classes and otherwise. I know it's a hard time. I know a lot of people are struggling and we're all dealing with the effects of COVID-19. And we want you to have athletics as an outlet, but we also want people to continue to try and not just write off half of their classes. So.
I just want to thank you for revisiting that for me.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry, Ms. Gingras.
That's okay. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, you too. Okay, so, wow, getting back to our agenda. We're on the consent agenda. Can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to
So
approve the
moved.
consent agenda.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Motion to approve by Ms. Oden, seconded by Ms. Ziem. Does anyone have anything they need to take out of the consent agenda? No, okay. Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll, please?
Okay, on the motion to approve the consent agenda, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. So we didn't have anything removed. Does anyone have anything, communications outside the consent agenda? I don't see any. Oh, I just wanted to mention as well, thank you to all the principals who came. Unless Dr. Mosley needs people. No, okay. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, comments. Finally, Ms. Kinsella, do we have people lined up in the waiting room? If not, we could do Dr. Mosley's comments and then go back to it. Oops, hang on, I seem to have a connection issue. Okay, I don't hear Ms. Kinsella. So while she figures that out, since she is the gatekeeper for public comments, Dr. Mosley, do you mind going ahead?
No, not at all. I'll be very brief. I just want to first acknowledge the United Way and all the work that they've done in the community. And, you know, whether it's, you know, food distribution and resources. Mike Affelbert, sent an email out today to myself and to a couple of my directors. And so by the end, but definitely by tomorrow, he made indication that they're still available, and United Way has resources available for laptops for our kids, and it's free of charge. And for those families that are struggling or need that additional support, the United Way is available to do that. So by tomorrow, Stacy's going to make sure that there's a link there that you can get all the information. Parents, please, students, please, if you need another computer or any other resources, this is the time to do it. The other piece of this is that tonight was a very big night because there's so much information that was voted on today. And so I just want the public to know that all of that's going to be memorialized on our website, sent out, not just to the public, but also access through our links. So please check our website on the, I guess I'll call it the poll, survey, selection, whatever you want to call it, the calendar and resources for United Way. I know Lisa's going to make sure that there's a very detailed information about athletics and expectations for that. And certainly there are some other ancillary things that are coming up too. I know some of our seniors are very concerned about, SATs, college deadline, all those things are all in play. No easy answers. The other piece to this too, I just want to acknowledge the North football team for their accomplishments. Congratulations. I also want to say that, even though we voted on athletics, we still had band during the fall as well. I say band, marching band, but there are still other activities that if we can get it off the ground and we can do it the correct way, we'd be happy to do it. And we're never going to, we'll explore everything out there. Finally, I just want to acknowledge, and this has come through a couple of times, I just really appreciated that the district about 2 years ago made the investment and the city. I want to thank the city for a grant writer. And Pamela Davey has been doing fabulous work. First, she started off with a little bit of this, a little bit of grants, 10,000, 20,000 here and there. And she'll certainly have more information to share with the board and to the public on some grants that she is securing for our kids. And these grants range from resources, food. I mean, it's just incredible. And sometimes there are a lot of things that are not happening in this pandemic. I get it. But there are a lot of great things happening here as well that we have to just sit back and say, this is what we have. So I just wanted to acknowledge Pam Davey for her work. I also want to make it clear that the United Way has free laptops for our kids out there, and that this is definitely a marathon. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mosley. Okay, Ms. Kinsella, are you ready with public comments?
Sure are.
Okay.
Okay, we'll let in our first guest.
Good evening, caller 3414. This is the public comment period for items on our agenda. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comment to less than 2 minutes.
Hi, yes, my name is Diane Robinson. I am not in the room by myself. Thank you for approving sports. I appreciate Mrs. Johnson and all of her comments. Thank you very much. And I think you have a lot of common sense, ma'am. Also, I really want the kids in school. Brown University's study was done, and that's a nonpartisan study, supports children in school, that it's a much safer environment for that. And I think with your survey, the one thing that you do need to do is get a commitment form if you want a waiver to have parents be able to do this. I think at that time that waiver could go through. Other than that, thank you, and get the kids back in. At the rate that you're going, the year is going to be finished. My senior will never see the inside of her school again. What's that word? Seniors. I think that they can bring the seniors into school much, much sooner, maybe even before the 9th graders. They're the ones that need it immediately, and the 9th graders could go in afterwards. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.
I was on mute. Thank you. You too. Okay, good evening, caller 9589. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comments brief to 2 minutes or less.
Hi, this is Erica D'Amelia, parent of a first grader in the district. This was already originally on the agenda, but it's already been talked about. But I do think it was underhanded not to allow the public comment before discussing the calendar. I am asking for a reconsideration for the amendment, for an amendment to allow students through grade 1 in hybrid to all go back starting December 14th. This board and administration have kept these kids out of in-person school for long enough. Some of you have admitted to this mistake. Allow those students through grade 1 in hybrid to go all back on December 14th. It may be only 4 days of in-person for cohort A and only 3 days for cohort B, but the quality of learning done in those 3 or 4 days for those students, especially those that thrive off of in-person learning, will undoubtedly be worth it to them. This was laid out in an email from the hybrid K and first grade teachers at Bicentennial. These are the teachers in the building working right now and have done hybrid in October, November with these students. Listen to the teachers you have heard from. They wrote in for a reason. I thank those teachers for caring for our children and their learning and well-being. The Board of Ed has taken so much away from these kids due to your own fear and not listening to the experts. For example, Dr. Chan, the state of New Hampshire's epidemiologist, the CDC director, Dr. Redfield, along with Dr. Fauci. In-person school is essential for many kids for many reasons. Don't take those 3 or 4 days away from these kids. It is time to right the ship and keep our children's public education from sinking. The teachers and staff of this district are doing an amazing job and putting in long hours, and they deserve a lot of credit. But that doesn't take away from the importance of in-person learning and what can be accomplished during that time. If staffing is an issue for 2 hybrid grades, pre-K and intensive needs, which it sounds like 1 or 2 schools may be having an issue, we should have enough staff to cover for 2 grades. If 1 or 2 schools are having an issue, they need to be creative and deal with it on a case-by-case basis and not make the whole district be remote because of it. I asked for this reconsideration since you didn't allow for public comment before discussing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi. 248.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you this evening?
Good. I'm sorry. I was on hold, so I had it on speaker while I was with my kids. So I just have a couple questions. I know there's a lot going on with remote and hybrid, and my question is, what? It's more of a concern that I know the board has not agreed to meet in person with each other. And I just feel like if you guys aren't allowed, you guys can't agree to meet, why do we have to send our kids back to school? I mean,
so
I hear laughing, but I mean, it's a valid question.
I don't think that laughing is coming from anybody on the Zoom.
I don't know. It's not here.
I'm sorry. My box here was not on mute, and it was my husband walking through. So
oh, that's okay. I was like, wait, I hear laughing. I'm like,
no, I apologize.
I'm like, I'm just asking a question. No worries. I'm just concerned.
Right. So a couple of things. This is a comment period for us to listen to the public. It is not, unfortunately, a question and answer period. However, I am happy to tell you that we are offering the remote option. So people who feel that they don't want to send their children in, respond to the poll that you want your child to be remote, and your child will stay remote. Some of the board members here have chosen remote for our own children.
And I don't blame them. I mean,
we have differing opinions.
Of course. No, I agree. Everybody has their own opinion, and not everybody's always going to agree. But my other thing was, as someone who works for the school district, and I am currently on leave because my children are remote, what are we supposed to do for us? Like, what are they going to do for us? Like, I'm concerned that I'm going to lose my job because my kids are remote, but they're also at risk, and I can't risk putting them in a daycare, considering the way the numbers are going now. It's like, I haven't gotten any answer from anybody that I've reached out to as to what's going to happen with the people that are on leave if we can't get our kids, some kind of care.
I hear you. I think many families are in your situation. I encourage you to reach out to Ms. O'Gara offline to talk about your specific situation, because I don't know anything about HR stuff.
Yeah. And okay. So, and one last thing was, my concern with sports, if they have to wear a mask while playing, why are we even letting them participate? I mean, I don't think it's safe for them to be running up and down a basketball court with a mask on. You know, I just think it should be stricken altogether. If the kids can't go back to school, I don't think that the kids should be able to play sports either then.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, good evening, caller 0634. If you could please identify yourself and limit your comments to 2 minutes or less.
My name is Adam Marcoux. I'm president of the Nashua Teachers Union. I will keep this brief. I have two things written on my notepad for tonight. One of them has already been addressed by one of the parents regarding old business prior to public comment. The decision to approve that calendar may have happened regardless of public comment, but the board in its infinite wisdom disallowed public comment on a very hot topic that this district's been dealing with since March 13th. And I am disappointed that unfinished business got moved in front of those things, as the number of people calling in for public comment on all sides of this debate on what we should be doing has been large in number. So I wanted to express that concern, because many people calling in have called and said, why is public comment not happening first? And I don't have a good reason for that. The other comment I have, again, is on the survey. I think maybe this has been ironed out, and maybe survey is not a good term. I do agree it's a commitment to what you're going to decide for your children moving forward. I expressed this, I believe, in the November meeting, the first November meeting, and maybe again at curriculum and evaluation. Only having the question about remote is troubling if there is no explanation of what we're doing with hybrid, which seems to be up in the air. I understand that hybrid has not changed from its current format right now, but there is confusion because there has been discussion at previous board meetings and the curriculum and evaluation meeting that might need to change. So I think it would only be fair to parents who are making the decision whether they keep their kid full remote, they move to a hybrid as we see it now, or something different moving down the road, that needs to be acknowledged in the survey as information for them so they can make the best decisions they can. And those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marcoux. Have a good evening. Okay. Hello, caller 7715. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less.
Hi, my name is Kristen West. I am a parent to twins in the first grade whom both have IEPs, and I apologize if you hear them in the background. First, I want to say how hard these teachers are working. My twins teacher is looking at her seesaw 10, 11 o'clock, midnight, sending in corrections on their seesaw and also sending in assignments for the next day. I am also calling in regards to the previous caller regarding the kindergarten and first grade for the month of December. Although, as the previous caller did state, the 4 days or versus 3 days, although it might not seem a lot to some, but it is exponential to, I know for my children who are 6 years old, who hate iPad school and asked to go to school pretty much daily. It is very disheartening to hear at the last meeting that we, quote, missed the boat for in-person, like almost it was no big deal. It is a huge deal. We missed the boat for all of these children in the Nashua School District, over 10,000 kids, or perhaps stating that we are potentially basing our votes off of fear, again, at the Nashua children's expense. As a parent, I feel that this district is an embarrassment. I feel at this point that no one wants to collectively work together to get a plan to get these kids back in school. I feel like that the votes are being done at this point out of spite and not out of respect for each other and what needs to happen to get these kids back in and get an education. There are some members on this team that do not believe children should be in school, yet attend extracurricular activities such as bingo and Black Friday shopping, which I have seen with my own eyes. There is no reason for kindergarten and first not to continue with hybrid after the Thanksgiving quarantine. Like I stated earlier, my children hate school and are suffering daily due to your actions. Withdrawing them from the December hybrid schedule is not the right answer. They have suffered enough. It is very upsetting. You know, the teachers did send in a letter for these children to go into December. And I believe it was Mrs. Z who had mentioned it. The teachers were okay with it. And I don't get the reasoning because we've already been in. It's not like it's a new group of kids that haven't seen each other. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
There are some members.
Hello, caller 0880. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less.
Hi, yes. My name is Wayne, and my comment is to the board and Dr. Mosley. Ms. Raymond, you consistently keep saying, you know. Do you really know what it's like to be in a household with a child, with an IEP that is being done remote because we as a parent have had our choice not given to us? So you keep saying you know, but do you really know? And as for Dr. Mosley, what's interesting is, yes, you are a doctor of education, I assume, but you fail to listen to other doctors that are very professional as epidemiologists, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Chen, along with other epidemiologists that are much smarter and have more knowledge and facts than you do in regards to epidemiology. So I guess the question is why aren't you listening to these professionals as we are supposed to listen to you as a doctor of education? I guess I'm confused. Dr. Fauci and Dr. Chen, along with others, have stated that our kids are safe in school, but yet you, as a doctor of education, again, assuming, you keep our kids out of school. My understanding is that there is some sort of psychology part of a doctorate program of education. And so I'm not sure if the boat was missed with the psychological part, but these kids that aren't in school are suffering from social and mental health issues. So again, you talk about sports being allowed to be played, but yet you don't let our kids into school to learn, to socialize. So that is my comment for the board and Dr. Mosley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for calling in this evening. Have a good evening.
The doctor of education. I guess I'm confused.
Hi, caller 8310.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you please identify yourself and keep your comments to less than 2 minutes?
Sure. My name is Linda Walsh, 207 Manchester Street. I'm a Nashua school teacher in the middle school, so I can only speak to middle school. I had to change up my thoughts because I thought it was going to be at the beginning of the meeting, but that's okay. I know that this pandemic is really difficult for all of us, and we all want back to normal. But for as much as we want back to normal, it's just not possible during a pandemic. And for normal to occur is kind of, on the horizon. If people think that going back to hybrid, and I'm speaking for the middle school only, and for myself personally, not all middle school, going back to the hybrid is not going to be normal. So if people think that is going to give kids a taste of normal, it's really not. Kids will not be eating lunch with their friends in the lunchroom. They're not going to be socializing in the hallways. They're not going to be in the same classes that they would be with their friends. So for as much as we want normal, hybrid does not get that. So please take that into consideration when you're moving forward with decisions. It'll be very fragmented, inconsistent, unpredictable. I have read the plan full on. There's nothing normal about it. And it's frankly very confusing for kids and for teachers. Secondly, one of the student reps brought this up months ago, and it just never seems to be listened to. He said it several times, actually, that we really need to look at hybrid and see if that is really worth the change. I don't think many people understand hybrid and that it's actually less curriculum than remote learning is. And so you really need to measure that when you're thinking about making a decision to go to hybrid. Dr. Mosley didn't want to call it, I forget what he said. He said, buyer beware. I will say buyer beware because I am teaching remotely now. I hate it just as much as everyone else. I want back into the school just as much as anyone else, but I do not want to make that choice without making sure that everyone is safe. So hybrid is actually less learning than staying remote. Personally, I want the board members to completely understand, and there's a lot of rhetoric out in the public that teachers get a choice. Teachers don't get a choice. You have 115 teachers that qualify for a leave. That means FMLA or ADA leave. There is a whole nother set of teachers that has not been addressed. And those teachers are teachers that have high-risk medical conditions that are on the CDC written high-risk list for getting COVID, and they do not qualify for leave because they do not have a disability. Someone with severe asthma is on the list, but that's not a disability, and so they can't take that remote teaching leave. I've had pneumonia 6 times. I've been hospitalized. I've missed months of school for pneumonia. That is not a disability, so I would not qualify for ADA leave with that condition. So we're forgetting that, we think that we're giving teachers a choice and that people that are medically fragile or medically at risk are able to remote teach, and that's simply not true. Those are being turned down left and right when people are getting their doctor's notes turned into HR with medical conditions on that CDC list of high-risk COVID complications. So having me go back to school puts me at a higher risk when I'm in contact with hundreds of students, and I don't have that choice. I do have the choice of getting my groceries delivered. I do have the choice of being safe in my home. I'm hearing a lot of people complain about how children are missing out and complaining about they're not getting an education and that their kids are losing out. Everyone is losing out because this is a pandemic, but I'm not sure why we cannot look at it in a different way. Instead of teaching our kids that they are missing out on anything, then why don't we use this historical time period as a learning opportunity? Because our kids are not having normal school, but they are learning. They are learning problem-solving skills. They're learning technology skills. They're learning things we would not cover in school. They're learning to be resilient. They're learning that we can't always get what we want. They are learning that sometimes you have to do things you don't like because it's the right decision. We have to take this opportunity to celebrate what they are learning. Things like adaptability and learning that circumstances can change in the blink of an eye, that adults struggle too, that sometimes change causes conflict and conflict causes change. They can learn motivation and time management. They can learn to overcome obstacles. They can learn to deal with boredom and learn that some years are harder than other years. They can learn to follow directions with unfamiliar formats that are not school-based. They can experience success and failures, try new things, and feel senses of accomplishment. We have to stop looking at this pandemic as an obstacle to learning and seeing it as an opportunity for different learning. It is not ideal that we are in this situation, but we're in the situation as a whole country. The bottom line is congregating with large groups indoors is going to increase cases, period. That is what the science says. As far as social emotional considerations, kids are more resilient than we are giving them credit for, and they will thrive if adults allow it. Now, do we need to build more supports for remote learning? Yes, we do. Do we need to get better and better at remote teaching and learning? Yes, we do. But they will rise to the occasion, as will we, if we stop arguing about politics. We need a priority to be safety in this district for our students and our staff. We do not have a choice about whether to teach remotely, but we are giving parents the choice to stay home with their kids or for their kids to learn remotely. And I want you to remember that when you make your votes, because there's a large amount of teachers that do not qualify for a leave and are scared to go back. And I will tell you that I love my job, and any of you that know me know that I love my job, but I also love my family, and I do think my health is important, that I have to advocate for that as well. Lastly, I would ask you that when you are making plans for a hybrid or a full-time back to school that you involve teachers, I am actually shocked. I shouldn't be shocked, but I am shocked on how little teachers are considered in the decision-making in this pandemic and how schools work. Please trust your experts, trust your principals. I've watched week after week of principals giving recommendations and then people trying to micromanage over that. Trust those that you hired to let them do their job and let the leaders lead, and make sure that teachers are involved in the discussion, because we are all in this together. And the last thing I want to say is that I have not heard the word metrics one time tonight, and that is very upsetting to me, because we adopted a calendar that has me going back on January 19th. And you can imagine how nervous that makes me, because I have quite a medical condition and I don't qualify for medical leave because it's not a disability. So I hope that we're looking at reliable Nashua-based metrics, not New Hampshire-based metrics, Nashua-based metrics, and that we can do something closer than what many districts are doing on this in this whole nation for a yellow and a green and a red and an orange system for actually looking at numbers and looking at metrics when we make these decisions. We don't just assign a date on a calendar because everybody wants to go back. We don't give up when things are difficult and too challenging for kids to do remotely. We don't give up. We teach them how to adapt and do it well and do it safely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Okay. Ms. Kinsella, how many people do we have in the
Very upsetting because we are starting.
Hi there, caller 5283. You're on. If you could please identify yourself and please try to keep your comments brief. Hello?
So I hope that we're looking at reliable Nashua.
Oh, I lost them. Ms. Kinsella, how many do you have left?
I currently have 2 in the waiting room.
Okay. So after these 2, we'll need to move on.
Okay.
They're doing on this in this whole
Go ahead, caller 9248. Hi. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comments brief.
Okay. My name is Deb House. I'm a teacher in the district. I'm also vice president of the Nashua Teachers Union. And let's see. What I wanted to say is I was glad to see that you passed the calendar recommended by the principals, and that calendar mentioned very prominently that what was stated there was dependent on the metrics that I hope you will then go forward and pass tonight, the ones that you are putting forward from the Curriculum and Evaluation Committee. And then the discussion amongst the board about hybrid has me very concerned. I am an elementary school teacher, and I am a hybrid teacher. And it seems to me that there is some misunderstanding about what happens in hybrid learning. We do have it's not really a half day. It is, it is a 4.5-hour day. So it's not a full school day, but the students don't stay for lunch. They, have a shortened academic day, but during hybrid learning, those students get a concentrated academic day, but during the rest of that day, the teachers also touch base with the kids who are on their remote time. So your A students are getting attention that day when they're in school, but then your B students get some attention in the afternoon, whether it is a live meeting with their teacher or whether it is recorded lessons that you are posting for them the next day. If you were to say across the board in elementary school, we want to stretch those out so that your hybrid days are full days, what you're going to say is that the students who are not on their in-school days will not be in touch with their teachers that day. I think you would be taking something away. And to just say, well, then you should set a webcam on yourself and have the kids sit at home on a computer and watch what's going on in the classroom. I find that very hard to imagine how you're going to keep a 6-year-old engaged in learning while you are also keeping another dozen 6-year-olds who are with you in the classroom and another maybe 10 6-year-olds who are also on the computer engaged in learning. Teaching remotely is difficult. Teaching in person can also be difficult, but if you think you're going to keep everyone engaged while you're teaching both in person to kids in front of you and live in person to kids who are on the computer, I do not know the magic to do that, and I don't think anyone really does with kids this young. So before you reinvent hybrid, you really need to talk to the teachers you're going to ask to do it. I also heard at Curriculum and Evaluation the other week, some board members suggesting that we should just put all the kids, maybe just all the elementary kids whose families were asking for hybrid, in school together 5 days a week. And I will tell you that will not work. We will not be able to do the social distancing we need to keep kids safe in school. So please remember that. It's as much as we want to set dates and get everything back to normal, we do have to follow the metrics. And I hope that you adopt those metrics that Curriculum and Evaluation are putting forward later tonight. Because without that, none of the rest of these plans that you are putting forward have the backstop that is going to keep people safe, including our staff and students. So with that, I'm going to wrap up my comments for tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, and the last caller, caller 5283. If you could please identify yourself and keep your comments brief.
Yes, my name is Lisa Olson. I have an 8th grader at Elm Street Middle School, a sophomore at South, and a freshman in college that just graduated from South. I'd first of all like to thank the board for making a decision to get these kiddos back in school. I would then like to thank all the teachers for all that you are doing. You are amazing and you're very much appreciated. I'd also like to thank the building principals for all of your hard work. And thank you to Ms. Gingras and your team for all of your efforts putting together a plan for winter sports and again, for a successful fall season for our athletes. Also, not to forget our amazing coaches. Thank you. I'm thankful for you being an instrumental part in these kids' lives. You not only care on the fields, courts, track, etc. Coaches are constantly checking in with their athletes regarding their grades. They communicate that studies come first. Right, Coach Maz? They care about the whole student. Athletics is not a separate entity than school. It is all encompassing. And let me tell you why. There was an athlete who had to bring up his grade in order to play in the next game. He shared the situation with his teammates. They decided after practice to rally around this teammate and help him with a study session to help him pass the test the very next day. This is just one example of how important athletics is to lifelong lessons. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy your evening.
All right, thank you very much. So this ends our first public comment period. I'm looking at the time, it is 8:15. We're actually also at our 2-hour mark. So I am looking for a motion to extend the meeting at least half an hour, if not longer, so that we can address the finance, policy, curriculum, and HR work that was done, especially HR that needs to get passed so that we can make sure those personnel changes take effect as soon as possible.
So moved.
No, you have to actually make a motion.
I motion to extend the meeting for another, do we want to say half an hour?
Sure.
Half an hour.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
seconded by Ms. Gilio. Mr. Guarino, can you please call the roll?
Hey, on the motion to extend the meeting, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons, Gloria,
Gloria's,
I think Gloria is,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Motion carries 9-0.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Okay, we had left off with superintendent's comments. And so now we're at board response to superintendent comments. Ms. Timmons is having some difficulty with her voice at the current moment, so she asked me to make a comment for her. And that was in regards to the superintendent had mentioned all of the work that the United Way is doing. So a big thank you to the United Way. But we also want people, well, she also wants people to know that the Arlington Street Community Center has been doing some work to help our students and families in the district, and that they are having their annual Christmas party on December the 12th. It's a Saturday from 1 to 3. And at that time, anybody who needs one is able to pick up a free fresh or artificial tree on a first come, first served basis. So a big thank you to the Arlington Street Community Center and to Mrs. Timmons for bringing that to our attention. Did anyone else have a response to the superintendent's comments? I don't see anybody. I just want to extend thanks to the United Way as well. The amount of work that they have been doing for our students this year is staggering. In addition to the work they were already doing in conjunction with 68 hours of hunger to make sure that our kids have food over the weekend if they need it. So thank you to them. Now we have the student member of the board comments. Mr. Gao?
I'll keep it really brief, seeing that we just did the 2-hour extension at the first public comment. But like over Thanksgiving, I was just like, of course, like recounting what I was giving thanks for. And I think one of the things that came up was just like, at the end of the day, like beyond like the politics, beyond like the different ways of going back to school or the different policies, I just wanted to say like thank you to all the board members, the superintendent, like all the administrators for like still looking out for the best of the students. Like, of course they're expressed in different ways as we have seen, but I definitely see that like intent there. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you, Mr. Gao. Mr. Norris?
I have nothing today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Norris. Okay, Committee on Finance and Operations. Ms. Oden?
Yes. I move to approve $92,917 for the purchase of 1,402 chairs for Nashua High School North, paid from account 91.1.04116.71800.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino.
I guess from experience, we all know that we have had a problem with chairs breaking at the high school, and this was Mr. Burns' attempt to try to get some enough chairs for the kids, and they're a different type than what they had. The ones they have are original from when the building was built, and they are a stronger material, so should last longer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. Do I need to use my list to go around, or can we just do a show of hands now that I have everybody on one screen? Anyone have any questions or comments about Ms. Oden's motion? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll, please?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandy,
Me, yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons. Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you. Move to approve the deferred maintenance plan as presented. And I think Mr. Smith will speak to this.
That as presented at the finance meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Can you remind me of the date of the finance meeting?
It was November 12th.
Okay. So I'm just going to add that to the motion,
Okay,
if that's all right.
that's good.
And I'll second it. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Guarino. You can have the second.
Okay, I'll second.
Hi, Mr. Smith.
Good evening.
Thank you for hanging in there so long with us.
My pleasure. So I know the hour's late and you're on borrowed time at this point. So I did provide a spreadsheet that outlined the deferred maintenance plan for the next 6 years. There's also a cover memo of about a little over 2 pages. I will just keep things brief unless you have questions. As you know, we received $460,000 this year, and my memo outlines how we plan to use that. We've actually already set aside $210,000 for the Penachuk roof that the Board of Ed approved, and we hope to get that money back from the joint special as that contingency fund fills a bit. So I'm just going to dive right into next year's plan. There are really 4 major projects. Some of them start with the $460,000 we have as far as design work that has to be done. But for years, we've had on our list of things to do is improve traffic flow around Bicentennial Elementary School. And in fact, probably 10 years ago, we had a contractor did a design for free for us, and it went to the Safe Routes to School Commission up in Concord. Didn't survive that process, but they actually laid out a pretty good plan to improve traffic. It's primarily for safety. I think everybody's familiar with Bicentennial. It's very close to a very, very busy intersection, and traffic is an issue there. The second thing I want to try to push is it's really an equity issue. So in the early to middle 2000 teens, we renovated Fairgrounds Ledge and Charlotte Avenue, and we put dehumidification throughout most of the school. But because of budget reasons, we did not do that back wing. And I don't receive complaints about it anymore. Everybody understands the issue. They understood the budget at the time, but I'm proposing that we address that in the coming fiscal year. The third major thing is South High School track. I invite anybody to take a walk onto the track before the snow flies. You'll see numerous cracks in the rubber. The track is original to the school. We've had it patched a couple times. I could probably have it patched one more time, but it seems like we're throwing good money after bad at this point. So I'm looking to redo the entire track. Each of those 3 projects is in excess of $400,000. I know the budget in this coming year is going to be very trying for the city. But those are the priorities. I believe in asking for what I think is needed, and that's what I think is needed. The other somewhat major thing I want to try to get done is the North Cooling Tower. So that's the one that provides the air conditioning through for the North High School. That is also original to the school and is in badly need of a midlife renovation. So my memo goes on to talk about capital improvements. And of course, we're right in the middle of a middle school project. with $120 million in potentially being invested in it. But we still have a lot of other schools that we have to maintain. And even before replacement of Elm Street was on our radar, we had Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable very close to the top of our list for a variety of reasons, starting with security, the open concept, that sort of thing. So that's those projects are at least 3 years out at this point, because we're not going to finish the middle school till the summer of 2023. But are there any questions?
So Mr. Smith, can you just remind people what it is that we are asking us to approve tonight? Because I know you have a very long list, but we're not approving the whole list. We're just approving some of that list.
Correct. So we're looking for your approval for fiscal year 22 deferred maintenance only, which is listed on the spreadsheet in FY22 column, and also on the second page of my memo.
Okay.
Again, those were 6 things: bicentennial work, the 3 elementary school HVAC projects, the South Track, North Cooling Tower, some security improvements, and some painting of high walls at Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
And that totaled, shuffle my papers here, it was a very large number of $1,560,000. And just so you know what the process is, this, after you approve it, it goes to the Capital Improvement Committee, which meets in January. They are an advisory committee. They make recommendations to the mayor and the alderman, and then we go through the whole budget process in the spring.
Okay. So I'm sorry, am I on mute? The motion tonight is actually for us to approve sending the plan to the Capital Improvements Committee.
Correct.
Is that correct, everybody?
Yes.
So perhaps we should word the motion to say what we intend, which is to send that $1,560,000 fiscal year 22 capital improvements plan to the Capital Improvements Committee. Would that satisfy what you're looking for?
That sounds wonderful.
So moved.
Okay. Sorry, Dottie, I just totally reworded your motion. Is that
Nope, that's
acceptable
okay.
to you?
That's good.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we approve what we mean to approve, especially when we're talking about $1.5 million that we're asking the city in this time to give us. Ms. Ziem?
This doesn't have to be a long-winded explanation, but I would like to ask you a yes or no on Elm Street as they move away from the old building to the new building. Will they be able to salvage anything from that old building? I mean, there's got to be a lot of salvageable stuff in there. They won't just let that go, will they?
No, that's actually in the mayor's court at this point. I know that he's received a number of inquiries from commercial developers. Okay. So there seems to be a lot of interest amongst commercial developers, at least, in turning that site into something else.
Well, I didn't mean the site. I actually meant in the building, but as long as your yes was good, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ziem. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson?
Yes.
Sandra Ziem?
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop?
Yes.
Sharon Giglio?
Yes.
Jessica Brown?
Yes.
Heather Raymond?
Yes.
Dottie Oden?
Yes.
Gloria Timmons?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay.
Okay, move to approve the communication audit not to exceed $6,000 with no formal presentation from account 91.1.01.2320 .53628.
I will second.
Okay. Just a reminder, we have this information from our packets earlier this month. Safe paper, it's in that packet instead of this packet. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Could I please comment the fact that we don't have to pay for a formal presentation and it's $1,500. Ms. Hines volunteered to do that for us if that's what we want. So thank you, Ms. Hines.
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see anybody. Go ahead, Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Do you have anything else for us this evening, Ms. Oden?
No, our next meeting is December 8th at 6 p.m.
Okay, great. All right, Committee on Policy.
Hi, thank you. So we met on November 18th. We have 1, 2, 3 policies being brought before you guys. The first one to approve is policy JLCG, exclusion of students from school for illnesses as amended.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ziem. Do we have any questions or do we want to go over it?
Ms. Brown?
I had a question. Is this, was this new wording, was it what we got recommended from the New Hampshire State Board Association? Is that where this update came from?
So the as amended was during the policy meeting where there were a couple of things, but the one I'm specifically thinking of was changing she and he to they, just using more inclusive pronouns and including parents and guardians instead of just parents. Was there anything else? We didn't change anything else after what was presented, right?
No.
So that was it. And it was kind of pared down from the one that was presented to us, Ms. Brown, before, because it was just too much information to kind of manage within the schools. This is a much better version of what was presented to us. Mr. Parker did a great job at making it more concise and more easily readable and matching the rest of how our policies look.
Okay, thank you. And I see this is most recently approved in 2018. And these other two that we're coming up on, they're just the addendums to this, or is this all new wording? Were these previously approved?
They are coming before us. The JLCGR is the kind of more of the outline of what to look for in regards to when kids need to be sent home or what needs to be occurring once they come into school. So it goes along with it. And then the third one is to rescind, right? The third one is to rescind the original policy because it's now wrapped up into these ones. Okay. Is that right, Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Do you want to add
Thank
anything
Nope, you got it.
to answers?
Nope, pretty straightforward.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Any other questions or comments? No? Quite great. Mr. Guarino, if you could call the roll.
On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Keep going.
Paula Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. The second policy is, I move to approve policy JLCGR, the general recommendations for exclusions of students from school with illness as presented. Those are the more defined symptoms and management that you had asked about earlier, Ms. Brown.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Guarino.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. So the last one is a recommendation to rescind policy JLCG in regards to communicable diseases.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any discussion or questions? Heather, I did it again. You're supposed to be presenting all of these.
No,
I'm gonna get a Post-it note that says, stop taking Heather's job.
absolutely fine. This is your segment. But I don't
the
see
Jen
anybody
show.
waving their hands at me. So, Mr. Guarino, if you could call the roll.
Okay, on the motion to rescind JLCC, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
And that was it for policy.
Okay. Do you know your next meeting offhand?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Next policy meeting is December 15th.
Okay.
I knew it was in December sometime.
Good girl.
Okay. Thank you very much. Curriculum
Thank you.
and evaluation. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. So we met on November 17th, and we have one recommendation at this time. The recommendation to approve the data matrix from the New Hampshire Department of Health determining the level of COVID-19 school impact and the decision matrix for transitioning between methods of instruction for the Nashua School District to use the, sorry, that's the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Okay. Any discussion or questions? I don't. Ms. Bishop?
Just a quick question, and it's because it's from the one of the comments that we heard in public comment. These metrics are for New Hampshire or Nashua?
For the state of New Hampshire, it was presented by the state, was what we were presented at the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
Are these going to be posted on our website?
It is my hope that it be posted on the website and that maybe we can get some kind of an easily readable color chart to tell the status of what the city is going to do. But as of right now, they are not on our website, except in our minutes.
Are they not in the
that's
COVID-19 section? I'm sorry, Dr. Mosley?
That's incorrect. The These metrics were presented about a month ago when I gave a presentation on just reopening and what that feels and looks like. And it's actually, I went over them about a month ago, and that presentation is posted on the website. I just want to be very clear. It is a Nashua metrics. Bobby Bagley and the epidemiologist came to the curriculum and evaluation and talked extensively about them. I also talked with Bobby Bagley, our public health director, about these metrics. So they are germane to Nashua, and they have been on the website. Be happy to pull them out again and repost them. But these are metrics that are on our website. We can post them in a different place. But I just want to be clear that we're not doing this in a silo. We're following what Bobby Bagley and the city departments have recommended for the district. I mean, for us as a community.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley. If someone watching this meeting were to go tonight to look for them, where would they go? Is it under in the minutes from?
If you can just get right back to me, be happy to share. I'm just going to go and look it up right now.
Dr. McKinney, welcome back.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. They're listed under the COVID-19 tab.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you very much. Okay, easy peasy. Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll?
Okay. On the motion, Raymond Greeno votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Okay. Ms. Brown, do you know your next meeting?
The next meeting is December 14th.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize. I know we move things around in December, and that is why I'm asking to make sure that I have it and anybody who wants to watch has it. Committee on Human Resources. Ms. Timmons is still having problems with her voice. So Ms. Oden, I believe you were going to handle this.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to introduce motions from a meeting held earlier this evening.
Second. No one is raising their hands, so Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion to suspend the rules, Raymond Greeno votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes, sorry.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yeah.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to approve the revised personnel recommendations of this evening.
Second.
Were there any questions or comments? Okay, great. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Greeno votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Julio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to approve the nomination of Mr. Matthew Pasca as principal of Elm Street Middle School for the remainder of the 2020-21 school year at an annual salary of $107,300.
Second.
Did you hear that, Mr. Guarino? Seconded by Ms.
Gilio. Yep. Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons, Ms. Timmons,
Yes.
yes. Okay, motion carries 9-0.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I believe the next meeting for HR and the Board of Ed is December 16th, though.
That was moved to December 21.
Oh, okay.
At least for the full board. I don't know about HR because I let Ms. Timmons be in charge of that. Ms. Timmons says yeah. So 12/21.
I'll change that. Thank you. I just want to say congratulations to Mr. Posca as the new principal at Elm Street Middle School and to the other new hires that we've made. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Oden and Ms. Timmons. Okay. We skipped around and we did unfinished business at the beginning. Oh, I'm sorry. Were there liaison reports? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, so we've completed our unfinished business. So new business is pretty exciting. There is a grant. Dr. Mosley, did you wish to speak to the grant? I'm not hearing Dr. Mosley. Was there another administrator who wanted to speak to the grant? Otherwise, I'll just do it. Okay. So the board received a memo from Pamela Davies, our grant writer, who we share with the city, and we are so grateful to have. She writes, I'm pleased to inform you that the Nashua School District has been awarded a grant of $35,000 from the No Kid Hungry Foundation, intended to support food services. Our food services director, Dahlia Daigle, crafted a proposal to help offset the costs associated with feeding our school community during the school year. The grant award may only be used for the purposes specified and requires no matching funds from the district. I recommend that the board approve acceptance of this grant in the amount of $35,000. So I am looking for a motion to accept the No Kid Hungry Foundation Grant Award in the amount of $35,000.
So moved.
All right, Ms. Bishop and Ms. Gilio.
Sorry, Sharon.
And Dr. Mosley, did you wish to speak to the grant at all? No? Okay. I just want to mention that, and I know Dr. Mosley has mentioned it before, we're currently providing lunches for any student who wants one. There are various locations to pick up a lunch at some of our schools and around town. However, because we're providing it to everyone, not all families have filled out the free and reduced lunch form who are eligible for free and reduced lunch. So the district is bearing some costs where we ordinarily wouldn't because families would have filled out that form. So this is just a sincere request to any families who have not filled out a free and reduced lunch form, who think you even might be eligible for that, to please fill out the form. This $35,000 grant is helpful, but it does not offset the amount of money that the district is spending on making sure that no child goes hungry during this crisis. So that's my little plug. Ms. Bishop?
Maybe Ms. Timmons can answer this, but are people able to set up computers and be helpful and get it done over at the Arlington Street Community Center? Would it be nice to have like a little kiosk set up for people who may need some support in completing the application?
Not open for the public yet.
The Arlington Street Community Service Center is not open to the public yet.
But like when people go pick up trees, could there be like a little umbrella with a couple of computers under it?
She'll take it under advisement, it sounds like. Ms. Kinsella, did you have a hand? No, okay. But people can get the paperwork from their principal or from central office or online. So there's a number of places to get it, and they can turn it in at their local school. Regarding the motion to accept the grant, were there any other comments or questions? No? Okay. Mr. Guarino, I'm sorry. I've been pronouncing your name wrong all evening. I apologize.
That's okay. On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Andrew Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giulio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Simmons. Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to Ms. Daigle. This is the second grant that has crossed our paths this fall that initiated with Ms. Daigle. So a huge thank you to her and Ms. Davies for working together on this. So the last item under new business is the question of creating a redistricting task force as our middle school project will create more students going to Pennachuck and less students going to the new middle school, or what was Elm. Dr. Mosley, I'm just gonna put this back in your court. Oh, you're on mute, so no one can hear you.
I think you're doing a fabulous job, Miss Raymond. Please don't let me interrupt. And I'm being very serious. This is, talk about controversy. This is definitely a lightning rod. So absolutely. I think you summed it up best, Miss Raymond. Listen, we have a great, thank you to the city. We have a great middle school project underway. Here's the deal. I think, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, so please don't quote me, but basically we have Elm Street that can house about 1,100 kids. And we have Pennachuck that's about a little close to about maybe 700. And then, we have Fairgrounds that's about 750 or so. With that said, we have to redistrict that's equitable because all of our middle schools are going to be approximately, I say approximately, between 900 to 950. Is that correct, Mr. Parker? I just want to make sure I get that number. Oh, if Sean Smith is here, that's right. But anyway. Yes. We need to start that discussion. It's not easy. It's a long process, but we have to start now because, as Sean Smith said, it's 2023. Our schools are going to be up and running, and so we want to make sure that parents know what middle school their kids are going to be going to. And we also have to talk about transportation. We also have to talk about staffing as well. So this is going to be a pretty, intense project for the district. That's going to require frequent meetings and updates so the public knows what's going on. But we have to get started on it, unfortunately, during a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the timing is really unfortunate, but you hit the nail on the head, Dr. Mosley. This is going to affect every facet of our population. So anyone who has a student in middle school and all of the middle school staff have the potential to be affected by this because if we're shifting at 200 kids from Elm Street into Pennachuck, and potentially 100 kids from Elm Street into Fairgrounds, they need teachers to shift as well. I got to be honest, I don't want anything to do with this, and I think everyone feels the same. But unfortunately, the buck has to stop somewhere, and it's part of the Board of Education's responsibility to make sure that this happens. And to oversee the process. So Dr. Mosley and I had talked about it, and I know Dr. Mosley and Mr. Parker have worked on this as well, and they have come up with a proposal of members of this task force that they think represent a nice selection of our staff to really make sure that everyone is represented as we go through this process, who has, important things to offer as well. We want people with knowledge. So we all got a memo in our packets this week with the proposed membership. We're requesting that Dr. Mosley would be or Mr. Parker, I'm not sure, would be one of the chairs.
Yeah, one of us would be.
What? Okay, one of you. And then we would add a board member to be the other chair. Ms. Giglio has been, I think, voluntold, but I'm happy to consider other things. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. As this is a task force and not a standard committee, I think the board would be very well served if we nominate a representative. And I nominate Ray Garino to co-chair this group and serve as our board representative on the redistricting task force.
Okay. Mr. Garino, do you have the time or the inclination to be part of the redistricting committee?
I want to thank Ms. Brown for that nomination. And I guess if I do it, I will make the time. But I also want to know, Ms. Giglio, that I won't take it if Ms. Giglio wants to be the representative from our board. But if she doesn't want it, then I'll do it. But if she wants it, I'm not going to step in where she might want to be there. And the other thing that I noticed that was missing from this list was I think that we need some representation from Nashua's community conversation on race and justice or the NAACP. People in our community who have been disenfranchised, who have never been offered a place at the table with input. So I would recommend that this board extends an offer to one of those two groups or both of those groups to have a representative to sit on our board, so that we have representation from people who have been not traditionally served and who haven't had a voice at the table. So that's otherwise. I'd be happy to serve. Like I said, if Ms. Giglio wants it, doesn't want to be there. If she wants it, then I'll step aside.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garino. One second, Ms. Giglio. While I think you have a wealth of knowledge to offer this task force, given your professional expertise, I would suggest that we stick with someone who was recently elected to the Board of Education and is only starting their 4-year term, as this project probably won't be completed until 2022 or 2023. Go ahead, Ms. Giglio.
Well, I was just going to say that I would be happy to let Mr. Garino take over. I would be thrilled to be an alternate if he's ever going to miss a meeting. I would like to stay involved because I am interested in it, but I certainly would welcome his input. I think he would do a great job. So that's it. I volunteered basically because I think I have more time free than anyone else, but that doesn't make me an expert. I've never done a redistricting project. So I would be happy to see Mr. Garino take it over. Thank you.
Okay. I have no strong feelings about it, provided that it is not me. Which sounds terrible, but there's a lot on my plate. Go ahead, Ms. Seem.
Why don't we vote on it? Why don't we do it? I don't think it should be public. I have to say I think maybe secret ballot, because I
think that's reasonable. So why don't we do as we do for everything else? People can email in if they want to either nominate or volunteer, and then we can arrange a meeting to address that. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't hold up the task force specifically for who the board member is.
Yes, that's true.
Ms.
Thank you.
Timmons and then Ms. Brown.
Can we have both of them?
Sure.
Then that was out there.
Ms. Timmons asked if they both could serve. Ms. Brown?
I was actually going to say just the same thing. Would it be possible for me to amend my motion to nominate Mr. Guarino as the sole representative, to nominate Mr. Guarino as the co-chair with Ms. Giglio as his alternate? And then
I'll second that.
Okay.
Is that all right with is that all right with Dr. Mosley?
That works. That works fine with me. Yeah, it's great. Teamwork.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Guarino, would you like to call the roll?
Before I do that, I would like to amend the list to include a representative from Nashua's Community Conversation on Race and Justice, or the NAACP, that this board extends them an invitation to serve on the committee.
Okay.
That was a great idea. Thank you, Ray. That was a great idea.
Okay.
I second that.
Do we want to make it two motions or a motion and an amendment?
Motion and amendment.
Okay, so any discussion on Mr. Guarino's amendment? No discussion. Okay, Mr. Guarino, can you please take the roll regarding your amendment to have the task force include a member from the Community Conversation on Race and Justice or the NAACP?
Okay, on the amendment, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, so the amendment passes.
And on the motion to nominate Ray with, I'm sorry, Mr. Guarino with Ms. Giglio as this alternate?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons. Motion carries 9-0.
Are there any other motions before we have a motion to approve the creation of the redistricting task force as discussed this evening?
Can I just say, Ms. Raymond, I remember there was some redistricting when my children were in a school, and the sending schools, the elementary schools, some of those parents that have children in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, they're going to be very interested in where their children are going to school. And I think making sure that you get feedback from those elementary schools. And I believe there are a couple schools that might be affected greater than some others. And I think you might want to make sure that those people are included in getting feedback from them.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Dr. Mosley, is there a plan to do like community forums or focus groups like you did with the strategic plan?
That's the idea. I mean, certainly, that's a good point by Ms. Oden. And we actually found, I'll give credit to Tara, the old redistricting like 100 years ago. I think it was like maybe in the 90s. But that's up for the committee to do. The committee's going to do some outreach. The committee's going to, what I would say, set a timeline very similar to what we did with the strategic plan. And then go to those, again, I'm thinking 2nd graders or 3rd graders, whatever you want to say per se, and certainly have that discussion with the parents, but also the students. I think the theme here is equity. And again, we say it a lot, but you have to mean it. And I think the middle school project, the genesis of actually doing all 3 buildings is because we wanted all of our middle schools to have a new building and have a new experience. in a new building. So I want to commend the mayor, the city, the aldermen for making this come to fruition, but absolutely. I mean, that's where it starts. You have to tell the parents where the kids are going. Some of them already, if you live across the street from Fairgrounds Middle School, please don't worry about it. Please, we're not going to send you across town. We're not. But some of those other areas, we have to have that discussion. And you know, it did. And this was just a draft too. I'm sure. Thank you, Ray, for that comment. We're trying to make it as inclusive as possible, but yet we don't want to make it overwhelming to the point where you have 50 people, because then that's hard to schedule the meeting in the time. But yes, we're going to do that. Absolutely. But we just have to get a group of people together to get started on that.
Ms. Brown?
I had two questions. Are these meetings going to be held in a fashion that the public can either participate or at least watch the procession? And also, I was wondering how the community member was selected.
I'll just speak to, it's a task force. So the meetings will send out invitations, but it's not a committee meeting. So it's not being televised. We didn't do that with our strategic plan. So that's why we were specific, because, you know, these are brainstorming meetings. These are just, you know, meetings of the task force, but the task force will come back to the board and report back out. Actually, having two members of the Board of Education, really, they serve as a liaison to keep the board informed too, and to do the presentation. So it's a win-win for everyone. But the intent of the task force is not to have that level of public, like a regular meeting like this. That's not the intent, because there's a lot of things that are going to take place. There are ideas that might not work. There might be things, and there's a level of, you know, that level of comfort that people want to be able to, you know, to talk freely. They can do that anyways, but that wasn't the intent, to have the meetings like recorded.
So during the strategic plan task force, the board member and Dr. Mosley would, during the liaison reports section of our board meeting, would provide an update on what had happened in the previous month. And if they needed a motion, or if they had, you know, there were surveys sent out and other things, they would advise the board at that point during the liaison report section of our meeting.
Sometimes it's Tara.
I was going to say, just looking at our historical past over the going through the folders, the superintendent actually makes a recommendation to the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed approved his recommendation for redistricting. That was obviously in the past, but no board members even sat on the committee before.
It's true.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
The task force can be, when we did the strategic plan, sometimes we met, I think, and don't quote me, but as we started to get closer to the end of the project, sometimes we met every day, sometimes for like 1 hour. A couple times we met a couple hours. I mean, these are long meetings. So, you know, there is a level of commitment there as well. And because we have teachers, we have to be careful not to take them out of their teaching time too. So most of the meetings, some of our meetings were at 7 o'clock in the morning, and some of them were at like 4. I saw that. That's funny. Jen Bishop put her. You guys can't see it because it's focused on me, but one school committee board member went like that, like not it. Thought that was funny.
Yeah. Jen and I are on the same page with that. It's a Herculean task, and I appreciate everyone who is willing to put in the time and the effort. It's a lot of work, and it is one of those things where you're never going to make everybody happy. So
no,
And
absolutely.
do you mind if I have my follow-up to the how we went about selecting the community member?
Oh, that's a good point. I'm sorry. Fair enough.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley.
It's fair enough. I'm sorry about that. Anthony, could you just give Ms. Brown some insight on that?
Yeah, we had a volunteer, and I worked with Stacy Hines to reach out to various community members, and so we had a volunteer. We had 2 family members who were approached, recommended because of ties to the community, and then this Mr. Ed Lysius volunteer. And we're more than happy to have another community member if that's what the, Dr. Mosley and you guys wish. So, but yes, they volunteered.
Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a draft. I mean, certainly we're not, again, I'm sorry to interrupt. We try not to keep, we don't want to make it 50 people, but we want to be inclusive as we can. So we're just trying to balance it. That's all. But if, Mr. Lucius has been around for a while. We had the mayor for the strategic plan. We had some business leaders. We just try to do as much outreach as we can. But, if there's someone that's passionate about it, come talk to Mr. Parker. We'll make something happen.
Yep. And you will be getting, sorry.
Go ahead. I'll just wait.
No, you'll be getting more updates because we're going to be ramping up shortly. We've had one meeting, but there have been some changes. Elm Street's going to be out of the way. And so it's going to be all redistricting all the time. So you'll be hearing a lot more of it over the next couple of months. So.
Okay. Ms. Timmons?
Yeah, I have an Nashua residence, right?
The members are Nashua residents?
Yes.
Dr. Mosley is shaking his head yes.
Yes.
I know this particular person. I don't think he's a Nashua resident.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
So we can
I was led to believe he was, but I will double check that.
So just so I'm clear, Mr. Lucius is the Lucius, sorry, was the community outreach, community policing coordinator for Nashua PD for ever.
Yeah, he does sports for our community. I mean, he does the announcements. I mean, he's has a show. I mean, he's Mr. Nashua. I don't know. He's out there. I mean, I can't think of. Who doesn't know Mr. Lucius? I mean,
He has that television program, so he'll be great as far as helping the public, because I'm sure that'll be part of that's probably why he wanted to do it, so that he could incorporate it into the keeping the public informed. So that was actually a great idea.
He runs the Eye on Education, and we did.
Yes, I was trying to think of that name. Thank you.
Yeah. He's also been the PAL coordinator, or the head of the PAL organization for many years, and he recently retired from the police force.
I know.
Oh, he does a great job on that education program.
he does. He does. He's a nice.
Yes, he does.
So we're all agreed that Mr. Lucius is a friend to the Nashua school community and the community at large. Dr. Mosley can follow up on Ms. Timmons's question outside of the meeting, if that's acceptable to you, Ms. Timmons.
I'm okay with him because I love him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, okay. He's a wonderful guy. He's
okay.
Mr. Nashua.
All right. So at this point, I am looking for a motion, because I don't think we've had one, to approve the redistricting task force with the makeup that we discussed this evening.
So moved.
Okay. I'll second it. Any last questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zim,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons. Motion carries 9-0.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Mosley and Mr. Parker and Mr. Guarino and Ms. Giglio for being willing to take this on. Yeah, best of luck to you. I look forward to hearing about all of the hard work that you're doing.
Oh boy.
Okay, we have public comments left and board member comments. We totally went over our extra half hour that we agreed to, but I didn't want to interrupt our discussion. I kind of figured we'd complete our task. So I am looking for a motion to extend either to complete our agenda or to allow for public comments or whatever people want to make.
I move to complete the agenda.
Seconded.
Okay. Mr. Guarino?
On the motion to complete the agenda, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dottie Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. So public comments on anything.
I don't have anybody in the waiting room currently.
Okay.
Great.
So moving on. Board member comments. I will go through the list, which I set down somewhere. Okay. Ms. Gilio.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, I know. I'm very slow on the mute button. I really don't want to take up time, but I think our meeting tonight was very productive. And even though I didn't see any of you for the whole last week, it is nice to see all your faces again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. It was a nice week to kind of like chill out, I guess. I've just for the next meeting, I was given a copy of a student parent guardian Chrome handbook agreement that I will try to get over to Mr. Donovan to take a look at because I've been focusing on this for a long time with these Chromebooks. And I'm hoping that he'll be able to have completed my list of questions that I gave to him before our last meeting. And I'd like to get them done so I can go through all of them. Thank you very much. Hope everybody has a great evening. And I don't think we're meeting anymore this week. So if not, have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is Ms. Oden.
Thank you. First, I want to thank our principals for all their time and effort and what they did. And I want to thank all the people that have written. I have been short on time this week and maybe I didn't get back to some, but I certainly appreciate the input. Unfortunately, what we are dealing with, we're not going to make everybody happy. This is a unique situation. I would like to, maybe for the next meeting, get a little information as to what we might be able to do for the free and reduced lunch. When I read in the paper, we could be losing $6 million because of the students we've lost and all the forms that have not come back. I'd like to know what we plan on doing on trying to contact some of those people that would be filling out the forms. So other than that, I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving and enjoy the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Timmons. Yeah, do you have a board member comment, Ms. Timmons? Did you text it to me and I missed it? No. Okay. Good night, Ms. Timmons. I hope your throat feels better. Okay. Ms. Ziem.
That was all I wanted to say. I hope Gloria feels better. The tickle in the throat seems to have gotten worse during the meeting, so I hope it's not going to be a sore throat or anything. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Have a
Thank you,
great
Miss.
week.
Thank you, Miss Thiem. Miss Bishop?
I am at a loss for words. Aren't you guys lucky? No, great meeting tonight. It was nice to get some traction and some momentum, and I'm glad that we can start planning a lot of stuff for our students and our teachers and our staff. So go team. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, it does. Really does.
And that's it for me.
Thank you, Miss Bishop. Miss Brown?
Thank you. Yeah, good meeting tonight. I hope everyone had a safe, happy Thanksgiving. We've moved forward with sports. I hope maybe some students who maybe haven't considered trying out those activities before in the past might jump on the opportunity to try out over here in the next few weeks and try something new. It's never too late to try a new sport or activity. So good luck with that. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I think tonight we showed that this board can work together to put together a plan. And so I respect those on this board who voted different than I did. But I think we're able to vote our conscience, and we were able to show respect to the professionals in administration. And this is very controversial. Even the CDC reverses what it says. I do listen to the CDC. I do make my decisions on facts and epidemiology, not politics. So I don't want people to get the wrong idea about me. But there's a lot of controversy out there about what to do. It's very difficult to gauge how many lives we might have prevented from going through COVID, by going slower. It's hard to measure that, but we might have actually done that. So we have to ask ourselves that question too. But we are going back to school. We're transitioning slower. And I just want to thank the parents out there and the teachers for their patience to hold on, and it's going to change. It might change more slowly than what people want, but it's going to change for the better. So just have more patience with each other, and I think we'll get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. I think I want to echo some of my colleagues' comments. Thank you so much to all of the principals and administration who worked on revising the calendar to get it to a place where most of the board members felt that they could vote for it in good conscience. I think everybody right down the line, from Dr. Mosley down to every single other employee that I have spoken to, and even those that I haven't, really cares about the students in this district and is really trying to make the best decisions for our students' safety, well-being, and their academics. So I appreciate everyone for doing that, and I don't think we talk about that enough in our meetings. So thank you to everybody for all that hard work. A big thank you to Mr. Parker and Dr. Mosley for beginning the work on the redistricting task force. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to reiterate to folks that both the United Way and now the Arlington Street Community Center are offering significant supports to families who need them. The soup kitchen is as well right now. So if you find yourself in need of a meal, a laptop to help with remote learning, a Christmas tree, there are resources out there in the community, and you're hearing about them here, but also many of the school social workers and guidance counselors are aware of them or where to point you to find that information if they don't have it readily available. So know that, as always, the school system seems to be at the heart of the community. So, anything else? Okay, so we don't need a non-public this evening that I'm aware of, which is great. So I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was by Ms. Bishop, seconded by Ms. Gilio.
This is exciting. It's before midnight.
I know. Thank you to Mr. Norris and Mr. Gao for sticking with us. It is a school night. You guys are always welcome to go do school stuff whenever you need.
Good night.
Mr. Gao is multitasking. Wait, we have to take the vote. We have to vote.
On the motion to adjourn, Raymond Greeno votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine.
She left.
She's gone.
Okay, Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dawn Newton,
Yes.
Julia Timmons.
Guys,
Yes.
sorry, giggling.
8-0, motion carries, 9:28 PM. We are adjourned.
Thank you.